want Versace, she want Gucci. Gotta lay down all my bands on the Lambo, cause she don't like my Volvo, no, no. Yeah, she got a diamond grill on her baby teeth. Coolest kid in the nursery, but you know, I'm not a materialist, an idealist. I flow with the transcendental argument. Reading Wittgenstein, investigate my girl philosophically. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? I just want the money.
Hey piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy,
yeah,
just give me one.
yeah,
Ooh.
straight up, I'm simple for you, girl. I want my heart, want you in my world. I see you in the super chat, I see you wanna go from me. I see you on the OnlyFans and you got my heart in your hand. Please don't crush it, girl, understand that I'm a simp, but I'm proud. I'm a geek, but I'm proud. And I wanna feel your breath at a convention. I want my picture of you groping my ass to be on social media. I want my friends to see it on Discord. I'm gonna upload it to my subreddit and they all gonna see it. My friends, they gonna like it, they gonna retweet it. But I bet that it's gonna be the greatest moment of my life, and I want you to be a part of it, girl. Yeah.
Don't make me go back to that 9 to 5. Wage cut ain't no way to be alive. Don't make me go back to 9 to 5. Wage cut ain't no way to be alive. Ooh. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one. Ooh. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one. Ooh.
What do you mean?
I can't hear ya. Let me hear you say it. Let me hear you say fuck Klaus Schwab. Fuck Klaus Schwab. Let me hear you say fuck Klaus Schwab. Yeah.
Hey piggy, hey piggy, don't make me go back to that 9 to 5. Wage cut ain't no way to be alive. Don't make me go back to 9 to 5. Wage cut ain't no way to be alive. Ooh. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one. Ooh.
When I'm with my boo, 1 and 1 miss 2, then it mix free. Yeah, we had the baby. She want Versace, she want Gucci. Gotta lay down all my bands on the Lambo, cause she don't like my Volvo, no, no. Yeah, she got a diamond grill on her baby teeth. Coolest kid in the nursery, but you know, I'm not a materialist, an idealist. I flow with the transcendental argument. Reading Wittgenstein, investigate my girl philosophically. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? I just want the money.
Hey piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy,
Yeah.
just give me one.
Yeah,
Ooh.
straight up, I'm simple for you, girl. I want my heart, want you in my world. I see you in the super chat, I see you wanna go from me. I see you on the OnlyFans and you got my heart in your hand. please don't crush it, girl. Understand that I'm a simp, but I'm proud. I'm a geek, but I'm proud. And I want to feel your breath at a convention. I want my picture of you groping my ass to be on social media. I want my friends to see it on Discord. I'm gonna upload it to my subreddit and they all gonna see it. My friends, they gonna like it, they gonna retweet it, but I bet that it's gonna be the greatest moment of my life, and I want you to be a part of it, girl. Yeah.
Don't make me go back to that 9 to 5. Wage clock ain't no way to be alive. Don't make me go back to 9 to 5. Wage clock ain't no way to be alive. Ooh, hey piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one. Ooh, hey piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one. Ooh.
I can't hear ya. Let me hear you say it. Let me hear you say fuck Klaus Schwab. Fuck Klaus Schwab. Let me hear you say fuck Klaus Schwab. Yeah.
Hey piggy, hey piggy, don't make me go back to that 9 to 5. Wage clock ain't no way to be alive. Don't make me go back to 9 to 5. Wage clock ain't no. Ooh, hey piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, Band-Aids don't give you AIDS. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chance. Hey piggy, just give me one more super chat. Hey piggy, ooh, ooh, ooh. Hey piggy, don't make me go back to 9 to 5. Hey piggy, wage clock ain't no way to be alive. Hey piggy. Hey piggy, don't make me go back to that 9 to 5. Hey piggy, I want to feel like I am so alive. Hey piggy, hey piggy, hey piggy, don't make me go back to my 9 to 5. Hey piggy. I like that. Actually, that's okay. I'm kind of.
Yo, all right, what's up? Welcome. We've made it. The bitrate is fluctuating a little bit, so hopefully if I use Ethernet cable, it'll stabilize and we can get back to normal on our beautiful live streams. Welcome everybody. Hope you're having a good day. I know I'm having a good day. Things are getting difficult in different ways. So a lot of drama going on, a lot of haters, a lot of heat coming down on a lot of people. But nevertheless, things are still going good. Today, as you know, we are going to cover Doctor Strange.
I get to see my new Marvel movies. My Funko Pop girlfriend and I were so happy. I brought her in with me, don't tell anybody. It was so great.
Did you get to see
The latest Marvel installment, The Good Guys one.
All right. What's up with our bit rate here? This never seems to be a problem until the sun's out. So we may have to kind of switch back and forth. Let's go over to Ethernet cable, and then we'll see if it's any better. It will drop for just 1 second, but
Mention. And also,
is it working? Hopefully the internet's working now.
Also, in that dimension, there are no internet problems because my mom, whom I live with, also has paid the bills, although she says that I should work and pay my own bills. But I told her that by drawing upon the wealth and the power stones of the Glove of Thanos, in the near future, we should be coming into a sizable amount of booty, which will allow us to live free from rent as soon as my mom and her boyfriend get a job in this difficult economy that Trump left us with. But I trust in my Marvel super friends and my Marvel heroes to bring us through to the other side. Welcome, my lady. Welcome, my liege. And comrades, enemies, who, by the way, I have just deleted from my dimension where I am the deity in the quantum foam.
What's up? There we go. Are we? Looks like we're going now. Are we? Let's see. Let's check the stats. A minute ago, dropped. Okay, that's not too bad. A little bit of drop frames is not a huge deal. Ooh, pay piggy. Somebody said, I will unsubscribe from your channel because all you do is yell and all you do is crazy voices. Dude, no one cares about crazy voices and characters. Well, that stream had like 1,000 likes on it, so if those streams get more likes than when I lectured through City of God. And by the way, I don't know if people figure this out, but acting a fool and doing voices is what people love. I'm your dancing monkey, and then people throw the super chats at you. I'm like the performing busker on the side of the road with no arms and playing the flute with his feet. Basically, that man in the subway. I'm just that man in the subway on the internet. That's it. So you can't tell me not to act a fool, because you're implicating the audience, because the audience gives money when I act a fool. Nobody wants to hear you singing. Oh yeah? How come everybody loves Pay Pig? How come everybody says? I think maybe they're just mad because it got stuck in their head. Man, I'm gonna tell that guy, I'm gonna give him what for. I shall tell him off when I see him streaming again. And how dare you attack Marvel? Now, we were hating on these kind of movies a long time ago, before a bunch of people on YouTube started attacking Marvel movies. But the weird thing is that, did you notice that the only reason that people even started attacking Marvel was because they felt that it was an offense to something that they held dear. And all of the material and the fiction that people are allowed to have, it's all, for the most part, not everything, very much juvenile stuff that you shouldn't care about. I mean, if you're an adult, you shouldn't care about your comic book characters at all, really. Now, it's true that it's being done for the purpose of social engineering, right? We know that, so I'm not trying to deny the fact that, like, the social engineering is there, and that's a big part of it. You want some Pay Piggy merch? Look, the whole audience is like going crazy over Pay Piggy. So how dare this person dare to say that we shouldn't be singing and rapping our little hearts up. We're going to rap our little butts off. We're going to rap to our heart's content. All you do is ramble. Yeah, it's we've always done this. I mean, These must be people that have not been here for a while or never been here for very long. We've always done the same style of kind of stream of consciousness, storytelling, joking, laughing. I mean, I'm not planning on quitting doing the way I do it. So if you would hit like and share, hopefully the bitrate issues have evened out. This seems to be a lot of people are having this problem. And I think it's just, I don't know, the internet itself is degrading or something. I don't know. But I mean, people get all up in arms over the Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff. But I mean, this stuff is childlike. It's not adult stuff. You need to grow up. You need to be focusing on adult things. And I think that a big part of the PSYOP is that it's a way to enforce neoteny, like Kotel says. It's a way to create arrested development. And so remember that the social engineers have studied to a great detail male and female psychology. So they know the ways to lure people into different alcoves to get them distracted and obsessed. And so for males, the distractions and the things that are out there that are not worth your time are Marvel movies, video games, these kinds of things. Not so much Hollywood anymore. People don't really care about Hollywood. It's kind of morphed into basically just comic book movies and video games. But I mean, those are there as distractions. Sure. For women, it's all of the vanity products. It's all that kind of stuff that's a giant distraction. Obsessing over cosmopolitan style social engineering. But it's all playing on our hopes and our desires. And so archetypes are manipulated to manipulate the masses. So they give you these synthetic heroes. Not that there's anything wrong with fiction, in my view, fantasy, any of those things. We just covered how C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy and Tolkien's Lord of the Rings are excellent critiques of the NWO in fiction form. And I proved that with the information that we went into about Lewis and the Space Trilogy. And by the way, I thought about doing part 2 to that talk tonight, but I think I'll do it tomorrow. So I'm basically ready to do that. Had a lot of fun with the Space Trilogy, so we'll get into that. But I do want to touch on how there are esoteric elements in these Marvel movies, which in a way touch on real things that relate to the realm of the esoteric. They're also a big part of social engineering, as we said many times. So we need to cover all that. And I initially was going to cover that other movie, what's it called? Everything Everywhere All at Once, because it also came out right at the same time as Doctor Strange about multiverse. And we've done several critiques of simulation theory and multiverse, both of which are related. But I didn't get a chance to watch that because I didn't realize it was still a theater movie, and I don't really care to go to the theater to see that. But I did review the Avengers thing, and I remembered I had done a video years ago when the first Avengers Age of Ultron or whatever, I don't remember whatever it was about Thanos' power glove, right? So that there's something relevant to that we're going to talk about, and there's something relevant to Doctor Strange Part 2 that we're going to talk about. And they have been leading us through this idea of multiverse in a lot of these plots. I think we're going to see it more and more too, because multiverse is really a way to reintroduce metaphysics under the guise of scientism. It's not actually scientific. It's completely mythological, right? It's nonsensical, but it appeals to the Marvel Coom universe scientism crowd because it's a way for them to think, whoa, my Marvel universe could be real, bro.
yeah, there's a dimension out there where I'm actually fun and cool, and people like me, and I can actually leave the basement, and also I don't just live through punk Funko Pops, and also, by the way,
It's just garbage, right? It's pure garbage. But it's a trick because it gives people the impression that because I can think of some potential realm, it must have actuality. So we are going to get into a little bit of philosophy with potentiality and actuality. As we've covered many times with Father Deacon Ananias, we know that there was a mistake in reading David Lewis about possible worlds in logic and philosophy that led some people who do physics who don't understand philosophy to think that because philosophers talk of possible worlds, and if there was if there's an infinite universe, it stands to reason that any potentiality has to be actualized somewhere because it's infinite. If there's infinity of the universes going on, I remember reading Brian Greene's book on how he tried to explain multiverse theory and all this stuff, and it's premised on the idea that the universe is infinite. Well, first of all, ain't no Coomer scientism TV men that actually know that the universe is infinite. It's a metaphysical assumption. They have absolutely no way to prove that. It's a metaphysical assumption that many of these so-called physicists, astrophysicists,
quantum physicists,
who spout pure garbage nonsense all the time, assume. And partly it has to do with the fact that, yes, they don't know anything about philosophy. They don't have any philosophical training. So they don't know when they're violating logical laws and impossibilities with their goober theories. Okay, so this is like mega goober theory to the max. Meta gooberism. We'll call it meta gooberism.
Meta goober, quantum gooberism.
The quantum goobers out there. The quantum coom. Quantum coom foam. So remember, for the last 150, 200 years, or even back to the Enlightenment itself, everybody's been told, there's no metaphysics. It's all fairy tales. You're all living in a fairy tale, you dumb, superstitious believers and theists and Christians. Ha ha! We have routed you. Ha ha! Ha ha! Sword and shield of reason have routed you. And then they're like, everything is matter.
Oh, everything is pure matter. It is only atoms. We have routed the stupid Christians.
And then now suddenly there's the quantum foam. Oh, and Dawkins talks about quantum potentiality. Oh, so now quantum reality has reinterjected metaphysics, and now everything exists, dude. Oh, well, wait a minute. So if everything exists, does that mean there's a universe where the Christian theology is true? I mean, on your dumb theory, you would have to admit that, because admitting this admits that logical contradictions obtain, that they are the case. But they don't seem to understand that admitting that there are logically contradictory universes means that those universes can't exist. You can't have impossible universes. So logical possibility in philosophy is a way to do thought experiments. It's not a way to describe the metaphysics of what must be or is, necessarily. It could be talking about the logic of metaphysics, but not necessarily. So if we talk about, is it logically possible that there's a world where there's no minds, and it's just matter? Remember JF's argument to me, right? He was under this same sort of mistaken idea that logical possibility means that it exists somewhere. And it's just something that physicists have stupidly mistaken from philosophy. And I don't remember actually it goes back to the Middle Ages too, which we're going to touch on. I'm going from memory here, but I want to say, it's been probably 15 years since I read on this, Nicholas of Cusa, or one of those medieval Renaissance esoteric figures, was the first to posit a multiverse. Am I right on that? I think that's right. Now, the thing about Nicholas of Cusa was that, if I recall, he was actually not really orthodox in his theology. All he was just much more of a hermeticist. So that's not somebody that's a reliable source in terms of science, according to normie sciencedom, right? So why are we? And he's hailed as like the father of this theory, if I recall, right? But in actual fact, what we're going to see is that the multiverse theory is actually gibberish, retardo nonsense, literally. Because you can't have things like meaning, objective reality, existence, logic, the good. All of those things are absolutely necessary to have a world or a universe, okay? Any possible universe. And if you don't have those things, or if you take away fundamental things, that universe becomes impossible. Okay, so there's no universe where you exist as Mario Paint. That doesn't exist. There's no universe where you exist as a butt. That would not be you. First of all, because if you remove the law of identity, then you don't have objects and meaning and identity at all. So if there's no law of identity, that's not you in another universe. How can you be you if it's a totally different you, sharing no similarities with you? Well, I guess there would be an infinite number of universes where there's a universe where you are you, but you have a pug nose instead of a hook nose. And then there's another universe where you have those two noses at the same time, which would be very difficult with, like, you would be doing, I don't know. But there's a universe where you have, 15 testes. There's a universe where you have 15 testes and a hook nose and a snub nose. There's a universe where you have a mouth that chews on the back of your neck. So when you chew like this. That old cut down. Yo mama got a mouth on the back of her neck. She chew like this. Remember that old cut down? Well, in this stupid theory, there's a whole universe of just that. Now, who wants to go to that universe? Me. And by the way, this comes up in the movie. Okay, not the butt universe, not the mama having a mouth on the back of her neck universe, but by the way, doesn't that mean there's a universe where Hitler where he like won or whatever, right? Man in the High Castle, Philip K. Dick. Doesn't that mean there's a universe where scientism and soy mills are all condemned to the abyss? Is that the universe? What? Right? There's a universe where I am a Lospian. Now, I'm trying to have Lospian hair, if you know what I mean. But there's a universe where I am one. Do you know that? There's a universe where I'm the greatest rapper in the world. So how can anybody ever diss me for my R&B and rap tracks? All I have to do is just appeal to Multiverse. You can never. There's a universe where I win every argument, which is this universe. Boom. There's a universe where Chase and Tristana are a two-headed goblin creature from Greek mythology. A chimera, some might say. Ya chimera. There's a universe where chimeras are chimeros, and you can drive those things around and wearing your Tesla t-shirt, heading to the party down at the lake with the lake rats in a Camaro, in a Camaro. There's a dimension where Thor is a thought, and he's not called Thor, he's called Thought, and his weapon is I don't know what, a pink I can't say that word. Anyway, you get the point. Is that what does this do? This actually destroys the possibility of a coherent, meaningful world. And if you get rid of that, it doesn't mean that those worlds are possible. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't, potential worlds aren't actual. And the big mistake that this stupid theory is doing is assuming that it collapses potentiality into actuality. And it doesn't just do that, it actually goes further than that by making things that aren't even possible in potentia actual. So it's completely absurd, and all based on multiple metaphysical assumptions that none of these physicists and theoretical physicists have any clue about how to prove or demonstrate, because they don't know anything about philosophy. And they've never, that's why they all tell you don't go near philosophy, because they know they'll get refuted, shown to be idiotic, basically used car salesmen selling you a bunch of nonsense. And we're going to see that in a minute when we look at some of the esoteric philosophy, aka chaos magic, that actually undergirds multiverse theory. A lot of people don't know that, but I have some of the books on this. Again, I don't believe it. We covered Rizwan Burke's book on simulation theory a few months ago, and so I read several chapters in his book when I got that, the MIT guy. I have this Goober Mage's book, Liber Null Psychonaut, as well, who we will be covering here on the screen, because he's even more of a granddaddy than Crowley when it comes to this goofy ritual magic stuff, right? Which is just a delusion factory, basically. Now, keep in mind, too, I'm going to have to, dang it, I'm going to have to plug in the computer. So the movie, we're going to focus on the two Doctor Stranges. We'll mention a little bit of Avengers because it gets into some esoteric stuff too. But so remember that the whole philosophy is essentially neo-paganism. Now, it's not neo-paganism that the online neo-pagans accept, right? Because they're going to go, that's not, they're stealing our stuff. They're stealing our stuff. Well, really, all of this stuff was always goofy, okay? And it was always fraught and wrapped up in lies and relativism and demonism, right? If you saw the City of God stream, right, we agree with Augustine's basic thesis that the mythology was, has its origin in, ultimately, in the demons. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't truths in Greek philosophy, pagan literature. We covered that as well. And Augustine admits that also in City of God, which we covered. But really, if you think about it, I mean, the LARPers of today, they're no different than the LARPers of 1,000 years ago. And this is the anachronistic fallacy. Just because some stank-ass old druid was dressing up in stank-ass robes 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, ooh, it's old, so it's true. No, lies can be old too, dummy. That's called the anachronism fallacy. Just because it's old doesn't make it more true or true at all. Oh, it's old, it's mystical. Whoa, look, I'm doing yoga on Instagram and I've got a mandala. Ooh. So what? You think there wasn't dumb stuff 5,000 years ago? So just because it's ancient, it's true, it's mystical. Smoke and mirrors. Ooh, Let me show you the inner secrets of the diamond. Love is like a diamond. I feel like I'm going into an Enigma song now, right? Doesn't that sound like Enigma lyrics? Jamie's in there laughing. The screen beyond the diamond veil. And then it's just a bunch of like butt stuff. That's really all it's about. Thank you for the super chats. Much appreciated, guys. Totally love the money points. The love points, aka money. Love my pay piggies out here. That's just a joke, by the way. People that can't comprehend the jokes. My first note says Thor versus Thought. I don't know why I wrote that down. Does he fight a woman or something? Does he fight? Why does he fight? Why did I put Thought Ragnarok? Instead of Thor Ragnarok, it would be Thought on the rag. What? Oh, is there a girl Thor now? Oh, good. So for equality, thank you so much. I was about to get upset. I was about to get triggered. I was about to start having a panic attack if they didn't also have girl Thor. Whew, thank you. So good. So no bigotry detected. Everything's safe. Good. But like I said, I mean, in the multiverse, actually isn't the patriarchy. There's a universe that's all patriarchal. So isn't that good? I mean, and that's another thing that's going to happen is that, when we have multiverse, andale. What is that? Some stupid rap song? Like Mexican rap? When we have, that's Nelly. That's a Nelly song. Andale, mama, When we have the multiverse, there's no good and evil. Multiverse ends up relativizing any objectivity, any law of identity, any law of non-contradiction. I mean, the whole thing is premised on there being contradictions, right? And the only way that you could also be you in another dimension that's the opposite of you is if there are contradictions, right? But if contradictions are the case, then there's no such thing as logic or reason or meaning at all. So now logic, meaning, and reason don't exist. But when you are explaining the multiverse as a theory, guess what? You're using logic, reason, objective principles, being, the good, the true, the false, and then negating those things at the same time. So this is literally doublethink, milkshake brain philosophy. That's it. By the way, there's a dimension where you are a milkshake brain, and it's dripping out your nose, dripping out of your double snub nose, hook nose at the same time. And also, what is Fringe about multiverse? So pagan confusion, relativism, irrationalism, absurdity, chaos theory is what undergirds this whole thing. And of course, chaos theory is an actual so-called stupid theory, right? Where Ashton Kutcher sneezes on a butterfly and the butterfly flies into Putin's underground base, and then the butterfly causes Putin to push the red button, and then there's a nuclear war, and then the whole planet goes, right? That's literally what goes on in chaos theory. A hummingbird farts, and then it leads to the end of the world. And where does chaos theory come from? Well, it actually comes out of not just pagan philosophy of chaos and the fates, but it actually comes out of ritual magic and a bunch of the Coom Mage crowd. All these Coom Mages, of whom Peter Carroll is a key figure. He's like Granddaddy Coom Mage. He's a 44th degree Coom Master. He's the Coom Master Supreme. He is the high priest of the Temple of Coom, if you're looking for an explanation of this. So what Crowley is the father of modern Satanism. Carroll is the grandfather of modern Satanism. That's what he's known for. And not only did he really pioneer this idea of chaos magic, he also pioneered this idea of cyber magic and techno-paganism, techno-magic. And that plays into transhumanism. Now, we mentioned him on a previous stream about chaos magic, where I think I was talking about multiverse theory some. But I'm 100% correct in this in terms of the comic book world, because one of my close good buddies from high school became a professional comic book artist. And he drew a really big work. I won't say which one. about 8 years ago. He drew the whole series. But before he became a big professional comic book man, I would go with him to the conventions in Chicago, because it's only about 6 hours from Nashville area, right? So the way it worked back in the 90s and the 2000s was that if you wanted to get into the comic book world, you would go to the conventions, and they were not as big back then as they are now. And like the nerd world has basically not our world. We're the Chad nerds. Okay, the normie nerd world basically took over everything. But it wasn't really like that at that time. Now, it was a bunch of nerds, and I would always just annoy the crap out of my buddy for going to these. And I would go too, because it was a lot of fun. I mean, it wasn't just comic books. Like, the way the conventions worked back then was you would have like Hollywood people, you would have people in the movies would come, and you could, like, you know, get autographs. I've told my story of getting into a tussle with the Beastmaster, literally, many times. Surely you guys have heard this story. I've told it like 20 times. I'm not going to tell it again. Basically, I got into it with Mark Singer, and I wrote the Beastmaster a check for $5 and wrote it to Beastmaster. So he did not call upon the power of any owls, eagles, foxes, or raccoons to attack me. However, a couple years later, when we went back to the convention, I noticed a big change that occurred. And it was the same year that we went to that convention. It was probably 2006 or 7. I want to say somewhere in there. And the conventions were getting bigger. Nerd culture was beginning to really start to take over. And it was the first year, get this, 2 things that happened at the same time that year at the Chicago Comic-Con. And no, I've never been back to any of these ass stank conventions, because you walk in there and the whole place is just a bunch of the Funko Pop crew, right? And it smells like Funko ass up in there, literally. I'm not joking. Like, they had to tell people at the conventions, like, please take a shower before you come to this convention, because nobody wants to smell your stank ass in the convention. And how, by the way, do you stink up an entire gigantic hotel convention plaza? But they did. They managed. That's their superpower. I mean, I guess in some dimension that is a superpower, right? So in some dimension, literally, Satan gets beaten by the stank ass of Funko Pop, Coomer Boy, comic book men. So don't knock these guys, because somewhere that's actually a superpower. You see the beauty and the genius of the multiverse. It makes everything. Everyone is a hero. But also everyone's a villain, so. Doesn't that mean there's a universe where you're on the side of Hitler? So doesn't that make you a bad guy? But again, in the contradiction universe of the normie Coom-Mage theorists, that's all. Yeah, you can do all that. Yeah, that's all true. Anything goes. Not only does anything goes, anything is. Everything is. It's not just anything goes, it's everything is. So, hopefully you get the point, right? We see what I'm getting at here. Now, I did a whole talk previous. I'm not going to review Doctor Strange 1. I did an analysis of that, how it's about the apotheosis of man. It's about magic. It's about the occult. Clearly, I mean, no question about it. And what I wanted to say about this convention, when the comic conventions were starting to really get bigger and bigger and bigger, and my buddy was first starting to get hired, that was the first convention where I noticed 2 things at the same time. It was the first year that we showed up, and it was a lot bigger. And I hadn't gone in a few years to that Chicago convention. I didn't go every year. But we were walking next to this chick, and everybody was like, oh, they're all over there giggling. And we literally walked beside her to the entire 6 blocks to the convention from where we parked. And I was like, why are y'all giggling? They were all just snickering over there. And I'm like, what is it? What? So by the time we finally got into the convention, and she went off to do, I mean, I didn't talk to this person. I had no idea who it was. They were like, oh, did you know you were walking the entire way next to the biggest prawn star in the world. I was like, what? And they were like, oh yeah. They were like, yeah, well, we know who she is. I'm like, what? And I was like, nuh-uh. Right? I didn't really believe it. So, but sure enough, this year, that year of the convention, they started bringing to the convention the prawn stars. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought this was about a kid thing. Because actually the first time I ever went to a comic convention was in San Diego when I was a kid, when I was into comic books. Okay. When I turned 15 and realized that there are females out there, I gave away my comic books. Okay. Didn't care about those anymore. But I still went with my friend because I wanted to see him succeed in comic books and so forth. And he had dedicated his life to that. And it was funny to kind of go to these things. It was entertaining. And I think I ended up getting Sulu's autograph. Oh my. Nobody knew that he was Sulu. I mean, he was Skittles, but I think I got Chewbacca's autograph too one time. Anyway. So they had an entire row now of the prawn stars at the convention because the internet was starting to kind of get big, in 2005, 6. But what's pretty crazy about that is that that was for subversive purposes because this was previously for many years just a thing for kids, right? I mean, you think of comic books, you think of kids reading Spider-Man, Batman, whatever, right? And now it's turning into this thing where it was intentionally to normalize the prawn chicks, okay? Then it went even crazier because at that very convention, that same one, there was unique flyers being handed out. I'm not positive of this, but I want to say it was before Grant Morrison was really well known. And I noticed that Grant Morrison was there was these comics about where he was saying and advertising like workshops, I want to say, about how to get really good at comic books. And he was saying that to get really good, you needed to be into ritual magic. And it makes sense because Alan Moore, right around that same time, was doing that. And he was saying, I realized in my artwork, I got to a certain level where I couldn't draw good enough and I needed a next level of inspiration. He said, so I got into Crowley and I got into ritual magic, and that's what took my art to the next level. And that was about 2005, 6, 7. And I was already like totally into conspiracy stuff at that time, right? So I knew all this stuff. I've been listening to Lord Voldemort at that time for 3 or 4 years. So I'm like, dude, they're like literally promoting ritual magic at the comic book conventions, and a bunch of the dang prawn stars showed up. What is going on? It was a huge change, right? From even a couple years before that. And I think people that knew about that at that time can see how the culture changes radically like it has since 2014, 15, 16, 17. You see how crazy things have gotten. But if you talked about that, and I did back at that time, right? So it was like only a couple years after that I started my old blog. And the first post on that blog was about people being abused in cults on my old blog. And I talked about ritual magic and, Crowley type stuff. And in 2007, 8, that was just crazy talk. Like people would just thought you were nuts, dude. I'm like, well, I just went to a convention where all these nerds who worship comic books are all being invited to ritual magic seminars and how to do Crowley stuff and butt stuff, because that's what Crowley stuff is, by the way. So if you were in these sub niches, counterculture niches, I wasn't into comic books, but I was at these conventions with my buddy who was into it, you see. So I had a kind of a window into that world is what I'm trying to say. All right, we're going to have to plug in the thing. So it's going to cut out just for a second. I'm not going anywhere. It's going to cut out just for 1 second. I'm not going anywhere. Explored a whole lot, except that I did write some essays years ago about this, particularly about Alan Moore's knowledge of inner deep state events. And because he wrote a whole thing about Iran-Contra and the CIA and drugs. He had his own comic book about that. And a lot of people pointed out how Radiohead's album, I think it was OK Computer, had a lot of artwork that seemed to pre-signify Big Nine event. And what I'm saying is that people find this very outlandish and crazy, but it's not outlandish and crazy if the worlds of high-level comic book artists are into Crowley and into ritual magic, and if those same people are connected to people in the music scene. You see what I'm saying? Like Hollywood. It's not outlandish. I mean, if you saw V for Vendetta, then you know that Alan Moore put all kinds of stuff into that. And part of the reason they made that movie is because it's a revelation of the method. Clearly. I mean, V for Vendetta is like totally revelation of the method. And it's mainly about controlled dialectics. And a lot of people don't know that in the actual graphic novel, V is Satan. He identifies himself as Satan, and he initiates Evie into pure Satanism, pure Luciferianism in the actual graphic novel. That's why her head is shorn, and she comes out as basically a foot soldier initiated by V. But V is Satan in the book, because of course Alan Moore, being himself a Crowleyan Satanist, he wants to make the Satan the hero, but he's a brutal hero at the same time, right? Sort of an anti-hero, I guess you could say. But I want to say, I don't recall, isn't Grant Morrison into chaos magic? Isn't that right? Is that right, Jamie? Yeah, that's what I thought. And if it wasn't his comic or his workshops that were being advertised back at that event, it was somebody like him. So same difference. Yeah, that's right. But this was like 2006. So anyway. All of that to say that comic books, of all things, like movies, are a form of pop culture where you do find ideas seeded as well. And there were a lot of comic books that presaged the Big Nine events almost to the detail. And I mean, they've been going around for years. There was an Iron Man cartoon that I highlighted. Well, one of the first things that ever went viral that I did was highlighting an Iron Man cartoon from 1994 where the bad guys hijack jets and fly them into the Pentagon and the WTC in the Iron Man cartoon in 1994. And it's exactly like the events of Big Nine. It may still be online. I don't know if you can find that, but maybe, let's see. It's probably scrubbed from YT, right? No, we might be able to do this. Let's see if we can do this. I'm going to mute this sound on this so that it'll play without getting any ding. So let's see if this is it. Is that Thanos' Ring of Power? What is it? So I don't know what this is, but I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit so that it doesn't, the less I play, the less likelihood of it being a ding. That's it. This is the episode. So if you want to look up the full episode, it's called The Grim Reaper Wears a Teflon Coat. And you'll notice, just kind of getting to the point of it, here are the Yakin and Boaz, you two towers there. And look, Stan Lee produced this one. Interesting. So there's the big twins. And then immediately after the twins get hit, let's see what gets hit. There's your little pentagram. You You call it the Pentagon, but you might want to call it the pentagram. Gets hit. Now, maybe that's all coincidental. Okay, sure. But it's pretty curious. And it's also interesting that this is in so many TV shows, right? And movies. But why would that be? Well, why does The Simpsons seem to predict so many things? Now, some of those so-called Simpson predictions are baloney, but a lot of them are not. And we looked into this many years ago, and the easiest answer is that it's a form of psychological operation propaganda. I've written 2 books about it. My thesis deals with this. Not solely about predictive programming, but using fiction for propaganda is what I wrote about. And I think predictive programming is some form of psychological warfare. That's my thesis. And messages are seeded in fiction works through the means, I believe, of people being in networks that know these things. And so in the case of The Simpsons, a lot of the writers of The Simpsons happen to come out of, I think, Evergreen College, which has CIA connections. And I don't think that it's accidental that, and that, by the way, that's like a classic name for CIA fronts. Evergreen Airlines. Okay, this is well known, goes back. Time magazine used to cover that. The drug airlines back in the Air America era were called Evergreen. Pretty sure about that. Going from memory. But that's just the name of a cutout. I'm not saying that Evergreen isn't a real university, right? And I think wasn't that where a bunch of that drama was coming out with that professor who does interviews with Jordan Peterson? What's his name? Weinstein? Something like that. Weinberger? I forget that guy's name, but this was the college that was a big social justice story drama in the news in 2016? Remember this? Does everybody remember this? That's the college that some of these Simpsons writers come from. Now, what's the most logical explanation for the Simpsons predicting things? Well, that they seem to probably be on the inside of some kind of knowledge about this stuff. And it's the same model, as I pointed out in my books, that British intelligence did through putting things in fiction, in British spy fiction. They've been doing this for a long time. Now, I don't think that everybody who's doing this for The Simpsons they're good guys. They want to get the word out. There might be some people who do this that want to get the word out. But I think that a lot of these people, it can be a form of what's the word I want to use? For the occultist, you could say it's lesser magic. For the psychological warfare proponent, it's seppuku, it's gaslighting, basically. That's really what it is. Now, and to be clear, this does not mean that everybody who is at a high level is in a cult. I think that there are people who are in the World Economic Forum, Davos crew, Hollywood, that are just atheists. Okay. But I think some of the people do take this stuff seriously. And they do have generational esoteric worldviews that they were raised in, cults that they were raised in, that basically teach similar types of ideas. We've seen many people from Hollywood, obviously, coming from cult backgrounds. So whether there is a phenomenon of things like The Simpsons predicting things in eerie fashion is not questionable. That's a fact. But what is the best explanation for that? Well, I don't think that they have magical powers. Okay. So they're not, drinking goat's blood and talking to Satan, and Satan gives them special information. There may be some people who do high level or intense hallucinogens that think that they're interacting with entities which are just demons, and maybe in those cases they might get inspiration or information. That's possible. I think a lot of people in Hollywood and in these domains are into ritual magic and Crowleyanism, but I don't know that every one of them is getting it from a supernatural source. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think there can be some of that in the case of people like John C. Lilly, MK Ultra doctors, Tim Leary, people like this who are very serious about both their social engineering status and their ritual magic stuff. But a much easier explanation, more likely explanation in my view, is that these types of things are kind of like pre-signifiers that give the impression of total control. So if I seed fiction with a bunch of things that predict the future, then it gives it a kind of an air of inevitability, you see. And just like in the movie Gaslight, right? I mean, that the way that guy has power over Ingrid Bergman is by continually contradicting, continually pulling the wool over her eyes, right? Continually gaslighting her to her face, and even at times kind of making it clear that he's messing with her, because that's like the ultimate mind F that she doesn't want to accept, you see. And if our world that we live in is controlled to that degree, think how terrifying that is for most normies, right? I mean, normies can't even handle that Kufid, that they were lied to about the Kufid by the government. They can't even handle that. Do you think they can handle the stuff that I'm talking about? No. So, it's a way to completely terrify the normie. That's what I'm trying to say. But that is a theory. That's a theory on the purpose of this type of a form of psychological warfare. And if you don't realize that pop culture is 100% mind control psychological warfare, you got to go back to the beginning, bro. Like, we're way past that. That's level 1. You got to get that first, because that's 100% what pop culture is. No question about it. So what we're trying to do is figure out what's the logic and the process and the technique that's actually being used here, so that we can deconstruct it, and also to not be susceptible to these lies. So, and by the way, I'm not telling you that you need to go watch all the Marvel movies, because most of them are like, it's kind of like that meme, right? Where it's like, oh, you think the Bible is ridiculous, but you go and watch all the Marvel movies and you think that there's a multiverse where you're a Thor hero. You're a god man in another universe. But the Bible's stupid, really? And think about that. Think about the power of that. I mean, that's like an ultimate self-owned defeater argument. Every one of these people who worships this Marvel stuff will sit there and tell you the Bible is, just pure fiction, fantasy nonsense. And they will go, gaga over the next Marvel movie, which is just an extended advertisement for the next Marvel movie, right? That was a critique that the Frankfurt School guys, who are terrible, but they're actually right about that. They said that if you look at, in a monopolistic capitalist culture, when Marvel movies like this become kind of the norm, the logic of the system is that each movie is really just an advertisement for the next one. That's it. I think that's a perceptive insight. So let's get to this actual movie, because I've been rambling for an hour. You just ramble. You don't lecture anymore. I just did a 3-hour lecture 2 nights ago. Go watch that. Yeah, that's a good point. People will spend 1,000 hours playing role-playing games. The Bible is a bunch of stupid mythology. It's a flying spaghetti monster. Whoa, elves. Whoa, spells. Whoa. Right? They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. Sam! So, the new Doctor Strange takes place within the context of all of the other Marvel movies and the Avengers and whatnot. And we have these statements at the beginning that Doctor Strange appears to have figured out that there's some relationship between dreams and the multiverse. So when you're dreaming, it's not a dream, it's not something from your subconscious or whatever. It's actually a window into the you in another universe that's having experiences as you. And so he starts to play with this theory, and I forget who girl has, I can't read my notes. I can never write the notes in the theater in the dark. I'm trying to remember how this goes. It was kind of a confusing plot, by the way. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but he comes up with this idea of the they have this discussion about the grand calculus of the multiverse. So the multiverse is a thing that can somehow be explained. And there's this girl, America Chavez, who has a Skittles flag, if you notice that. And in every universe, we see her at the beginning on the run from some evil creature, and then Doctor Strange messes up and chooses the wrong thing, and she ends up dead. And she has the power, we find out, through the pentacle to open portals to other verses in the multiverse. And we find out there's a demon who's after her. There's a demon that wants her power. So she can multiverse travel, and that's her superpower, right? And we find out that the team of the good guys, right, they're all upset. Uh-oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to save this chick, right? The chick, turns out, is raised by two moms, which is a big nod to anti-bigotry. Thankfully, there's no bigotry detected in the movie. And they decide that there's runes at work. Runes. Who's using runes? Because these Cthulhic, H.P. Lovecraft type entities are being brought into our dimension, our universe. And so somebody has the power to be doing this, that's doing it through some kind of, not sorcery, but witchcraft. So the rune, I don't know why wounds, the wounds. I can't say my R's. I don't know why the Scarlet Witch would be, runes would be witchcraft, but whatever. I mean, runes are just a language. But next they start throwing in the element of spirituality and disassociation, because Doctor Strange says, well, I guess we need to go talk to the Scarlet Witch because she must be somehow involved in this. She knows about witchcraft. So we'll ask her. She's our resident expert, the Elizabeth Olsen character. And I don't watch all this Marvel stuff, so I don't know the whole WandaVision story. But if you recall, I did do an analysis. I wrote an essay on the meaning of the character the Vision, because he's a Deus Ex Machina. He's a kind of demigod, God from within the machine, transhumanist character. He's modeled on bodily resurrection. He's a kind of a Christ figure, but he's like this apathetic, I don't care, like emo Christ figure, and he's more or less worthless. He just kind of like floats off to go pout on another planet or something. But he is actually about transhumanism, if you remember the Avengers Age of Ultron story. And I think he had some romantic fling with the Scarlet Witch. I don't know, right? But the point is that her character is involved in some kind of dissociation. So she's a witch who has a dissociation between the universe where she has her two children, her two boys. Shout out to my single moms out there, my single witch mom. And the universe where she's the Scarlet Witch and doesn't have kids or whatever. So the most interesting thing about her character isn't the witchcraft, but it's rather that she is a character who dissociates. And later on, we get clues that, oh no, you see, dissociation is also multiverse theory, because the alter personalities, and they even mention in the film alternate personalities. Alternate personalities aren't a horrible thing that you need to be healed from or whatever because of your trauma. No. Alternate personalities are just the you in another dimension that you need to pull that power from. Because there's a dimension where you are Kobe Bryant and you're the best basketball player in the world. Oh, you see, well, if you can do magic, you can pull that power from that dimension to this dimension, and you become a self-savior. So the weird part about this movie is that it's about self-salvation, because, spoiler alert, Scarlet Witch saves herself by herself from another dimension. Again, which wouldn't be you, but still. Now, this all occurs. So, in other words, the esoteric world, the esoteric occult arts, disassociation, multiple personalities, and, by the way, demons play a big role in this, because eventually Doctor Strange has to do black magic to save everybody. He has to raise the dead and inhabit zombie Doctor Strange. No joke. And this requires association with the Book of the Damned and some other, the Book of Ashanti, whatever that is. And let's see. But you notice that this reminds me too of Marvel continues to do this throughout a lot of their stories with, who's the black goo Spider-Man guy? Venom. If you remember, Venom is the demonic alter of whoever plays Tom Hardy or whatever, right? But in the story, even though he's identified as like this demonic alter, he actually is the source from which Tom Hardy draws power, because Tom Hardy integrates the demon into his psyche and they become one. Likewise, in this story, altars and demons are not things that you need to have healed or be freed from. They're things that empower you if you can figure out the right technology and trickery and magic words to control them. So do you see that this is all based on delusion? And ultimately all magic is based on delusion. The idea that the universe is just a universe of infinite egalitarian potentia. And the wizard, the magus, is the one who exerts his will to power to conform the universe to his desire. That's what all of this is, all of it. So all ritual magic, all that stupid stuff, it's all that. It's you exerting your will, conforming the external world to your intentionality. That's the whole thing. That's all of it. And so it's an attempt to achieve apotheosis. And if you remember, when I analyzed Doctor Strange, the part 1, the whole thesis, the whole view, that whole movie was about him being a normal doctor who undergoes trauma and then ends up being initiated into this rite in the Far East. And I think he goes to India. And then he becomes this basically an ascended master. And so he becomes, I think at one time, he's the sorcerer supreme. He's like the high magus, right? In the alternate universe, it's the Chinese dude or whatever. But the point is just that the reason that's relevant in this story is that when he's the Doctor Strange is elevated to being the supreme magus, the sorcerer supreme, did you notice what he does? He becomes a founder of a society that you've probably heard of. What society did Doctor Strange found to make hard decisions, protect the universe, and study the multiverse, which is chaos magic? Did you notice this? The Illuminati. Now, this is kind of dumb. I recognize that, because the Illuminati was a rationalist scientism-based cult in the Enlightenment. It wasn't primarily concerned with ritual magic and woo-woo. Woo-woo! The ritual magic go woo-woo! Remember, guys, to keep the chat on the topics that YouTube allows. So if you go into the topics that YouTube doesn't allow, we'll have to mute those topics. So Please keep that in mind. Otherwise, I won't be here. And if you do that kind of stuff, I'm going to assume that your intention is to make me not be here. So let's keep the chat on to the topics of the day. We're not here. Why are you debating politics in this chat, dude? This chat doesn't have anything to do with politics, dude. People debating Trump in the chat. We're not here to talk about Trump.
So unbelievable. The press is so dishonest.
I don't think the chat is ever talking about the topics in the stream. I'm not knocking my chat. We have a lot of fun. It's just funny after years of live streaming. Like the chat is always talking about like everything other than what the stream is about. But that's okay. So the Illuminati is created by Doctor Strange. Now remember, Doctor Strange is the sort of mystic secret advisor to the Avengers. So he's kind of like the head of the Avengers, which is connected to S.H.I.E.L.D. And S.H.I.E.L.D., if we recall, the Avengers is basically the Americanist New World Order that caves to United Nations globalism. If you remember in the story, the Avengers story, Avengers have to basically get on board with internationalism, and they do. That's part of the messaging of the Avengers storyline in the movies. And then Doctor Strange, his whole ethos is the esoteric mystic arts, right? But he's the one that is the founder and the head of the Illuminati, and they call it the Illuminati, and then he gives way to putting Professor X in charge of the Illuminati. So that means the X-Men are also under the tutelage of the Illuminati, right? Now, I know it's an alternate dimension, but they brought that in on purpose because haven't we been here saying this whole time that this storyline, the Marvel movies, are about the Illuminati confirmed, that the movies are putting this theme in there? And lo and behold, after being mocked for many, many years, even though I wrote 2 books proving that this is what the movies are talking about, now that they actually put it in the movies, do I get any, oh, you were right? No, it's, oh, you're, yeah, but it's there because there's nothing wrong with that. It's not bad. It's just jokes. It's just, right. So I'm right all this time when it doesn't exist. And now, oh, it exists, but it's a good thing. So, I mean, again, I just have to like take a little moment to humble brag here that I wrote 2 books where I talked about movies being about the Illuminati confirmed, for lack of better wording. You can substitute whatever power structure cult you want. Everybody thought my books were crazy. My essays, I've been writing about this. The books are my essays that I wrote for the last 15 years, right? And how many thousands of people have called me crazy for all these years. And lo and behold, what does the movie do but put Doctor Strange as the head and the creator of the Illuminati in the movie? And has anybody messaged me to say you were right? No. But I mean, I was right about this when first essay I wrote about all this stuff was in 2005. And I wrote about the symbolism in films that I was noticing after I read a bunch of books on symbolism at the time and some books on Freemasonry. I was starting to realize, hey, it looks like movies are actually putting a lot of Freemasonic symbolism in the movies. And I wrote an essay about Back to the Future and one other movie. What was the other movie? I had picked some other movie that at that time I thought was really... Back to the Future was the first one I ever did. And then I thought, hey, I could actually you could actually start writing analyses of movies pointing out all kinds of themes like this, right? And at the time, I was like a sophomore in college, so that was my idea at that time. And I was taking film classes where we were talking about Hollywood history, like comparing the history of supposedly what we know about real events versus the Hollywood versions of them. And I started realizing, oh, actually, a lot of these stories are written by people in intelligence agencies. A lot of these stories are stories about real world events, spy events that they tweak a little bit. And I can't convey to you guys, to a lot of, especially the younger people, like it's like obvious to a lot of people now. But you imagine saying this stuff in 2005, like how crazy people thought I was. Like it was actually alienating. Like I remember you would talk about this stuff in class, and like people would laugh. They think you're crazy. Professors would say you're crazy. Even as the very professors saying you're crazy are teaching classes about intelligence agencies being involved in movies and crafting narratives. And I'm like, well, then why would what I'm saying be crazy? Like, doesn't it stand to reason that there's something to this? I mean, and I remember doing an analysis of a couple other movies that I thought were really conspiratorial. I remember watching Conspiracy Theory by Mel Gibson because it touched on all this. And that was kind of like the first inklings of this. I'm missing a big one. There was a big one that I watched. I should review some of those like esoteric analysis, like part 1 and 2 and 3. Because there was some really, it was just so out there, dude. And like now it's so obvious, right? Let's see, 2005 to 2022 is what? 17 years ago? Anyway. So, did you notice that when Professor X, by the way, this proves my dissociation trauma theory with Scarlet Witch. So he can see into her mind, and when she's possessed by Scarlet Witch, her real personality is trapped in a basement. Did you notice that? And so Professor X tries to pull her out of the basement, but he can't do it in time. And the Scarlet Witch that possesses the body is supposed to be her in another dimension that's the traumatized her, you see. And then Doctor Strange decides the only way to stop Scarlet Witch is that I'm going to have to possess another body using the sorcery, the witchcraft that she's using. And I'm going to have to possess, turns out, my own dead body from another multiverse. So zombie Doctor Strange has to do sorcery to control demons that empower him to beat the Scarlet Witch. But he doesn't ultimately do it. It ends up being America Chavez who discovers her secret inner power to control the dimensional portals that she can't control. And this is that Marvel always, all the superhero story. Oh, you can't control I can't control my power. Oh, you have to learn to control your power, right? It's like the same plot. They always do the same plot. But what is the worldview that's being conveyed in the movie? Well, as we said, it's ultimately chaos magic. Ritual magic will give you the power to control and pull from the you in the other dimensions that then allows you to enforce your will upon this dimension. That's what the whole thing is. And ultimately, all of the superheroes are that. That's the whole ethos of the superheroes, right? And it's to teach you that all forms of existence are equal. Whatever your preference is, it's all equal. And that is straight from Crowley. Did you know Crowley said that the goal of his philosophy and worldview is the equalization of all actions? Everything is equal. So what is that? How does that work? Well, it's good or bad relative to the magician. So the most powerful magician is the one who convinces most people to follow him and submit to him as he determines what is good or bad. So it's not just relativism, it's relativism like mixed with Nietzscheanism. And then the Ubermensch magician, he's the one that's able to enforce his will. And it doesn't matter how he does it, if he does it through trickery, deceit, whatever, right? If you trick most people into following you, and then you can basically make them your cult people, you determine good and evil. They will follow you. That's what the magus is. That's why the people that graduate from that goofy cult, it's just a graduate program in creating your own cult and your own religion. That's all it is. That's why everybody who graduates from Crowley's thing goes on to start their own cults. And that's why it's also very useful to intelligence agencies and the study of mind control and psyops. That's why Michael Aquino wrote a book on using black magic in psyops. The colonel who wrote the psychological warfare doctrine for the army, who was also a founder of a satanic sect, Temple of Set. So why would it be strange that these movies are full of these themes when the people that write the psychological warfare doctrine for the U.S. Army are super hardcore committed high-level Satanists? Why does any of this seem strange to you? When the most famous graphic novel writers like Alan Moore are avowed open Crowleyans. What I mean, is this not obvious? How can you people not get this? You people who doubt what I've been talking about and been right about for so many years. Is this not obvious? By the way, hit like and share if you would like to keep me on the air. Hit like and share if you want to keep me on the air.
Quit singing. No one likes your stupid characters in your singing.
I will never quit singing. It's American Idol 2004. I'm Clay Aiken. Yeah. Remember Clay Aiken? Clay Aiken's mom came in a store I worked at one time, and it was right after Clay Aiken won. And I was a clerk at the store, and Clay Aiken's mom, I'm not joking, had the giganticest breastises I've ever seen, and she had the giganticest diamond I've ever seen. So I think we can deduce from that Clay Aiken is a mama's boy, because she bought him, he bought her. I guess he spent all his award money on his mama and her fancy fixins. I'm not joking. That's a true story, by the way. How do we get on Clay Aiken? Oh, because I was singing.
Stop singing. I don't like your characters. I want you to talk about Funko Pops.
Whoever criticizes me like that, I know you can't say your R's, but I'll give you props because you can at least type your R's, right? Does anybody even remember Clay Aiken? He was like I've never watched an episode of American Idol except for that Chinese dude that was singing, William Hung or whatever. That dude was funny. But all I remember is that Clay Aiken won like the second or third year. And didn't Adele win something like that? That's all I know. That's it. That's all I know. I remember, and I know that the judges were Paula Abdul and that Randy dude, the black dude, and Simon Cowell. That's it. That's the only thing I know about American Idol. Hung William, that's his name. And I can't even remember if Chocolate Rain, remember that Chocolate Rain dude? Was he on American Idol or was he just an internet sensation? I can't remember. By the way, Pay Piggy is better than Chocolate Rain. That's all I know. Did you notice the black goo too? That was interesting. They even had to throw the black goo in when Doctor Strange is taken into the abyss by the demons before Rachel McAdams helps him control the demons. This is a bizarre movie. The more I think about it, there's a really bizarre scene, which actually the idea itself isn't that bad. It's kind of cool, but it looked kind of cheeseball the way they executed it. They have a music fight. So he goes to a dimension where music is a weapon. And so evil Doctor Strange has to fight good Doctor Strange, and they fight with music. I mean, it's kind of a cool idea, but like the way it was executed was like cheeseball. It was like just like kind of goofy. But anyway, it's a very trippy, crazy movie. That's one thing to say about this. But it relativizes good and evil, right? Did you notice that it relativizes good and evil? Because the good is directly connected to being. They're not identical, but they're directly correlated. They're directly connected, because in the universe where God exists, the Christian universe, which is the only universe, which is this universe, God is the ultimate source of the good and of being or existence as well, right? So they always go together, even though we could say that they are distinct energies. However, and by the way, both of those are necessary to have the true and the false, right? Because the true will correspond to the good, which will be related to being. The false will correspond to not good and non-being, metaphysically speaking. So you got to have those things in your philosophy and your worldview to have any philosophy or worldview at all, right? You can't have a universe where there's no preconditions or transcendental categories. It's just it wouldn't work. It would be like building a computer program or a video game with no code. It's not going to work. Okay, you can't have that. There's got to be structure for a world to be. And if a world exists, then by having existence, you necessarily will have other predicates and other preconditions, other metaphysical principles and realities. For example, you can have a universe with no causality. What? It just doesn't make any sense. There's no way to have that universe. You can't have a universe without identity. If there's no identity, then you can't have objects picked out in a universe. It's like this stuff it's not. It may sound a little obtuse if you don't know philosophy, but a lot of it's really kind of commonsensical, right? You can't have a universe with no minds. It wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't work. So I think the big problems in this will relate to how ultimately what we have with the Marvel ethos and its worldview and philosophy that's promoted is chaos magic and postmodernism. And you'll notice that postmodernism directly comes out of chaos magic. And we're going to see that in a couple of these little videos that are not that long, but are summaries. I have no idea who these people are. I listened to these many years ago. Or excuse me, about a year ago. But they're summaries of what this coon goober says. Peter Carroll, who was even more influential in a sense than Crowley. Now, Crowley's more famous and more well-known, but this guy is before him in this sense of like a lot of what's going on out there is from this. And a lot of Hollywood people, by the way, are into chaos magic, by the way, explicitly. So let's listen to a little bit of this. This is from some channel called Cupid Jim. Again, I'm not advocating this dude or his channel. Maybe I need to find part 1. That looks like part... Yes, I need to go to part 1. I'm glad I found that. That was part 3. So, there's a guy ad. Looks like a new age Jason Sudeikis there. Gaia's got a new age Jason Sudeikis doing there.
Did you know that the Illuminati existed through alien intervention? Whoa! Aliens have given us the greatest secrets of the pyramids. Look at my glasses. Doesn't it make me trustworthy? Look, I've got these glasses. Plus, I hold my hand in this way that makes me look very official. Johnny Enoch. That's my real name, I promise.
Yeah, right. There's no way that guy's real name is Johnny Enoch. I believe Keanu Reeves' name is Johnny Utah before I believe that dude's name is Johnny Enoch. A fake-ass Jason Sudeikis. I can't say it. Gracus. All right, let's get to this. Now, don't play your stupid music.
And on the careful choice of and preparation for a desired effect.
Now, again, this is not promoting this stupid thing. Nobody is going to be convinced to get into this because of listening to this, because you're going to see how goofy this is. And you're going to notice, wait a minute, everything that they're saying here is what postmodernists say. And I remember that we delved into this when we talked about Food of the Gods. Terence McKenna actually also makes this connection.
Terence says, well, if you look at postmodern theory, it's really just magical thinking. And I mean the magical thinkers of the druids and the wizards are the real origin of this idea that we create reality. We make reality.
In general, one should try and bring about events which have a measurable probability of occurring by chance alone.
So basically, this is we're going to listen to him explain this a little bit. He's basically saying, okay, chaos magic is really, if we think about what ritual magic and these magicians are trying to do, people that get into this, they want to exert their will upon reality and make reality conform to their will. That's all he's saying.
And one should not be too proud to do everything possible on the physical plane to help it occur. Thus, magic should be something thrown in to tip the scales of chance in one's favor when all possible physical action has been taken. By neglecting to maximize the probability on the physical plane, one sets up an internal conflict in which magic is expected to make up for poor preparation. Thus, in divination, one should not shy away from first exhausting all mundane sources of information that might be relevant, and in enchantment, assist the spell both before and after casting by all possible ordinary means. The purpose of performing magic is not to test the efficacy of magic. If it is performed in this spirit of challenge, the subconscious challenge for it to fail will be the only result which manifests. Magic is to be performed to get results, and even if one at first achieves results only a little better than chance, then it at least provides an edge which can be turned into a considerable advantage if subtly employed. One should always look for an avenue of reasonable probability through which chance can be bent towards desire. For example,
Ha ha! I cast the spell upon you that you will be perpetually fake and gray.
Now look, I just proved magic because you are perpetually fake and gray. See that? See how that works? See how that works?
probability of spontaneously materializing a substantial fortune is rather low. And even doubling that probability by magic is unlikely to lead to success. On the other hand, even a small advantage in gambling or business can produce a decisive effect. Similarly, divination should be regarded as a means of distinguishing the correct information from amongst those alternatives of which one is aware or able to imagine.
Now, keep in mind, notice
Acts of
that
illumination.
so far,
It is better to
he's talked about chance, and since chaos seems to dominate, what we want to do, he's saying, is try to influence the probabilities to be in our favor. Right. So wait a minute. I thought we were. So this doesn't actually work. In other words, it doesn't really work. But maybe you can sway the odds in your favor. Right. So number one, he's kind of setting it up that yeah, it's not. You're not really going to get rich when you try to cast your give me wealth spell.
conjure initially for modest, specific improvements or even arbitrary changes to oneself, rather than for ill-defined or grandiose modifications. Although the lore of magic is peppered with tales of really extreme and improbable events, Remember that even the best of the Magi rarely pull off more than a dozen such events in a lifetime.
So that's a good way to like weight the scales, right? Or like poison the well or whatever, so that you don't get, it's moving the goalpost, right? Because if you try to cast spells for 50 years, I mean, probably out of 50 years of doing that, 12 instances might actually occur. So he's like,
The greatest magicians only ever have about 12 times that it works. Don't expect a whole lot.
right? So he's setting you up to, like, it's not really going to work. But trust me, there's something to this.
The aspiring...
But you're going to see, notice what we're doing here is a philosophical critique. You're going to notice how absurd this worldview is. This is the worldview that undergirds multiverse theory, by the way. That's why we're doing this. Multiverse is based on chaos theory, chaos magic, and that all potentialities are actualities. So, is this actually possible? Is this a worldview, chaos magic, chaos theory, multiverse theory? Can this actually be a possible explanation, a metaphysic for how the world works? And we're going to see that, in fact, no, it is contradictory nonsense.
magician should seek to work on the simpler schemes first, and to immerse himself in the belief structures of magic. And the really great acts of power will gradually begin to manifest in his work. At any time in life, but most commonly in late youth, when we have the vague intuition that there is something profoundly bizarre and inconsistent about life, the universe, and everything, there may suddenly be a horrifying or ecstatic certainty that one's own self is illusory, and that reality is also an illusion.
Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Now we got some problems here. All right. Self is illusory. Let's write that down. I'm afraid that our cum magus is not going to do very well in this philosophical critique. Now, for you budding presuppers out there, can you begin to see how we might critique this? Wait a minute. You just told me the self is illusory. Now you just said reality is illusory. This might be a little bit of a philosophical problem for your worldview when you start telling me about what reality is.
One's carefully...
By the way, didn't I come to hear your chaos magic philosophy through reality? Uh-oh. Andale, andale, mama. Uh-oh. Because you just said it's illusory. So essentially you're saying that your philosophy and your arguments are illusory also. Uh-oh.
Suspended identity seems to be a pointless pretense and an empty shell. The world becomes a cacophony of meaningless sensations. Most people will reject this initiation and manage...
Okay, so the world is illusory. The self is illusory. It's, what do you say, meaningless sensations? Uh-oh. But I learned about your book and your philosophy through the sensations coming at me right now from the screen. That means your arguments are meaningless sensations. Uh-oh. From now on, and if there's ever another debate, I'm just going to do the Nelly reply. Uh-oh.
Fill their lives
Every time there's a dumb argument, I'm going to go, uh-oh.
with sufficient concerns until perhaps an awareness of mortality reminds them of it again.
Maybe people are just falling for this because it's just a British voice. I mean, I think that, have you noticed how they put all these British TV people on American TV now? And I think they think that everybody in America is just so dumb that they'll default to whatever these people are saying because he's got a British voice, he must be smart. Why, he's saying it in them these and thous British kings English. He's British. It sounds smart. It must be true. No, he's saying gibberish nonsense and lying to you, and it's a psyop because he has a British voice, as if he's smart and sophisticated. I mean, listen to what this guy's saying. It's pure contradiction, gibberish.
But he's got a British voice. Ritual magic, you see. People would like to say that the great magicians, the wizards of yesteryear, that we are all liars and scammers. I tell you, no. the magic of the anus, of the buttocks. The butt stuff is real. Allow me to show you. Come to my chamber. Come to my inner sanctum. Right? It's like, these people are just losers, dude. That's it. Here's a theory. What if these people are just losers trying to bullshit their way into you thinking that they're smart and deep? And it doesn't even pass the test. It doesn't even pass the Funko Pop smell test of basic coherency. I mean, this dude's already saying the self and reality are illusions. Okay, but that means Peter Carroll is an illusion. That means that your book is an illusion. And then I'm not a person who can learn from your book and your message here. I mean, it's just so stupid.
Those who do drink the poison must seek stronger medicine or become sick or mad. Rational materialism is the least powerful of the antidotes. Little more than an assertion.
So there's one at least halfway true point, right? So he's going to say that people are disillusioned with rationalistic materialism. Well, that's true. That's true. However, that being false does not mean that I should opt for your magical chaos theory, which is going to be just as dumb as that.
Of the reality of the ego or self-image and the reality of physical objects. Yet it works for some, and if they pursue it rigorously, they may become that much more effective in philosophy and science for the serpent's kiss. However, it does impart a veiled destructiveness to these endeavors. Religion and mysticism offer a different form of medicine. Transcendentalism is the acceptance of the emptiness of self and the unreality of phenomena as symptoms.
That is not talking about, by the way, transcendental arguments. Totally different thing. Transcendentalism, like Thoreau, and that's not what that's what he's talking about. That's not what we do.
Of our temporary.
Everybody gets fooled with these words. Okay, words mean different things in different contexts. People don't assume that because you see a word here, it always means the same thing, and every time you read it, it doesn't. People think that the transcendental argument for God is from Kant. No, it's not. We're not Kantians. I mean, accepting Kant's philosophy would be completely destructive to the whole point of the transcendental argument. Transcendental arguments have a life outside of Kant. Kant did transcendental arguments. That'd be like saying because David Hume used logical arguments, logic comes from David Hume. I mean, it's just so stupid.
Estrangement from some greater fullness in reality, be it nirvana, God, or enlightenment. Those with a particularly deep terror of extinction and nothingness become the most passionately religious and mystical, precisely because that negation is always with them. Finally, there are those brought close to death by the serpent's bite, and those who found in the poison itself a source of freedom and laughter. These are the potential magicians.
Oh, you see, the serpent's bite drives you mad, and we find freedom there, the liberation. We laugh.
Right. So in other words, he's advocating a kind of madness. He's saying that if you want to take the path of the magician, you need to sort of like take the left-hand path of madness and the demonic. Oh, okay. So I need to be possessed and go nuts to obtain power. Kind of sounds like a lie from the devil. I mean, I don't know about you, but like, you're telling me that I need to give you my butt for you to do butt stuff, and that's the only way that I'm going to be initiated into understanding them. It sounds like to me like this is like a lame pickup line, bro. I'm not buying it. Sorry, but he actually goes into this in this book, right? He says that, for example, destroying the sacred. You will find that energy is liberated when an individual breaks through the rules of conditioning. He's talking about moral rules that you were raised with, 10 Commandments, whatever. Oh, that's just a trap to keep you down, dude. Don't you realize that if you just ate people and drank blood and did a lot of butt stuff, like, you'll be free, dude, right? But he goes further and says that actually destroying the sacred is an act of blasphemy, and this gives you energy. So he's saying that there's an energizing effect that comes with engaging in violations of the divine law. Now, wait a minute, though. But I thought that reality is an illusion. So how is it that there's some regular principle that I'm going to gain energy and power from violating moral laws? I thought everything's an illusion. So how do you get this principle that you gain power from? It doesn't make any sense, right? It's contradictory. Do something, for example, he says, that you would feel revolted by. I mean, this just sounds like a cum mage trying, right? Like a cum magus trying to seduce the wench mage. You see, it's like a bad version of spit and game. You know that if you just let me grab your booty, you get power from that. Who would buy that, right? That's all he's doing, really. You are free to do anything, do whatever, no matter how extreme. However, do not restrict another person's freedom. Well, I mean, so non-aggression principle, bro. Like, why am I supposed to accept the non-aggression principle? And by the way, he just told you to accept the non-aggression principle, which is a restricting of your freedom. So he's violating the very thing that he says not to do. And on what basis am I supposed to assume that the NAP is a universal rule or principle? By the way, your whole philosophy is chaos. There are no universal rules or principles. The idea that there is a universal principle, that there's no universal principles, is a contradiction. Every element of this is just stupid. Imagine falling for this. Then he goes on to say, here are some actions that you can do to give you magic power. Heresy. Go out and preach and teach nonsensical, crazy, extreme views. Heresy. Go against the mainstream opinion. Okay, but what if there's a mainstream opinion about something that's actually true, right? Like, why would I go against that? We'll empower you with the dark side. If you only knew the power of the creep side, right? If you only knew the power of the cum side of the force. Then he goes on to say, engage in religious iconoclasm. That's weird. Then he goes on to say, you can do things with your body. Let's see what this is. This shit's crazy, dude. Let's see what he says. There is a thing more trustworthy than all of the sages, and that which contains more wisdom than any great library. Your own body. It asks you for food, warmth, for sex, and for transcendence. Transcendence is the urge to become one with something greater than you, a variously satisfied desire in love, satisfied in love, humanitarianism, arts, science, or the magical quest for truth. To satisfy these needs, it is liberating for you. For example, power, authority, excessive wealth, and so forth are the sensory experiences that are aberrations of these things. Sidestepping conventionality leaves you with a mass of prejudices and idiosyncrasies. So now he's talking about self-destruction. Let's see what he says. He calls this anathematism. Anathematism. Anathematism is a technique that will directly practice directly on yourself. Eat everything that is loathsome to you. Seek a union and conversation with what you hate and reject. Scheme is against every one of your sacred principles. So basically, do the opposite of what is good. That's it. And what you like, and so forth. And he says that in doing this, you will kind of achieve some sort of mountaintop insight that you would never have gotten before. That's just silly. But do you see the madness of this, right? Oh, you don't like eating feces? Haha. You're not really initiated. You're not really enlightened. Haha. I've eaten the crap all day. I am enlightened. You're insane. And how obviously demonic is that?
Dating and depressive maladies with no obvious cause were recognized as a shaman sickness in the old hunter-gatherer.
Now, again, you're going to say, but what does this have to do with Doctor Strange? Because the philosophy and the worldview of Doctor Strange, the message given, is the message of chaos magic, which is the same thing as the message of postmodernism, which is that there is no truth, there is no reality. It's all a social construct, and it's all constructed by power, relations of oppressed and oppressor. That's it. That's the whole thing. And all of modern leftism today is this. It is this postmodern chaos magic. And that's why for them, they don't care about all the logic and the arguments and the truths that you bring to them and you want to get the word out. They don't care about any of that, dude. Postmodernism does not care about any of this. They're never going to listen to any of your arguments because it is fundamentally a power dynamic like a magical worldview. Okay. Now, not every postmodernist crazy person out there, right? Not every social justice warrior believes in magic and witchcraft, although many of them do now. Many of them don't believe in that. But what they implicitly and inherently do believe in is the philosophy of chaos magic, which is essentially nothing to do with truth. It is all power relations. It is all oppressor-oppressed narratives. And that's what underlies all of today's discourse. And nobody ever talks about this, by the way. Now, Jordan Peterson comes close, and I will give him credit for when he critiques postmodernism, this is his point, and he's right about that. And it is a philosophy of magic because, again, Terence McKenna said the postmodernists are using magical thinking and they don't even know it. So they've adopted an occult worldview and they don't even know it. Isn't that crazy? And that's why I think for many of us, it's very frustrating because for us, our presupposition is that, well, there has to be truth and falsehood. Clearly there's good and bad. Okay, to this worldview, there isn't. Truth and falsehood, good and bad, are relative to the power figures, the power players, the magi, the magus, the wizard, the sorcerer, and his ability to convince and enforce that will upon everyone else. And that is why all the people in modern so-called leftism, whatever that is, just postmodernism, that's why it's all about power dynamics. That's all they care about. And they don't care about that you call them out for lying. There's nothing wrong with lying. Lying is a means to an end. It's a means to power. They don't care that you're a crusader for the truth. There is no truth. Truth is whatever the power structure dictates. That's what they believe. And that's their modus operandi. That's how they operate. That's how they live. Now, it's completely self-destructive. It's completely suicidal. It's completely crazy. But that's their operating system. And so when you try to combat that with, let's put it this way, if you don't go to the presuppositional root of the problem, you are never going to address the operating system, the root of of what they're doing, and they're just going to keep doing it. And this is why, like the pro-life stuff is good. I appreciate people that do the pro-life stuff. But the thing about that is that it's like, if you've seen recent events about like where people who are doing pro-life stuff go out and like when they're interacting with the people who are vehemently not pro-life, especially since this has come up huge in the last week or two, right? With this leaked court thing. Have you noticed the enraged, literally foaming at the mouth furor of the people that you're engaging with in these situations, in these videos? And there's plenty of videos out there. Okay, do any of these people at all look like they have the use of the faculty of reasoning? No. I mean, these people are energized by another force, okay? That does not mean that they can't be saved. God can save anybody, sure. But Paul talks about in his letters a period when there's a certain point at which you become insensate. You lose discernment and any sensation to good and evil to the point where you are given over. Now, granted, it's not our position to individually judge. We can't see when individuals have been completely given over. We don't know that. But we can tell by people's actions and modus operandi whether they are energized by evil, for sure. And if somebody is completely energized by evil, then there's not really much point in trying to reason with a person like that. And that's why I think as a person gets older, you start to realize, who I interact with and reason with and who I spend my time with is valuable to me. And I'm not going to spend my time reasoning with people that I can see are not reasonable, you see. And so I'm going to choose my battles. I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince someone who is completely insane, completely retardo, completely irrational. It's a complete waste of time. And I think as you get older, you gain some wisdom and insight into who to associate with, who to spend that time on. And it is possible to surrender your reasoning. Paul talks about that. I just don't see again, I'm support the people that do pro-life things, but I don't see the purpose in consistently engaging and trying to do man on the street scenarios of to convince people, because people have surrendered their we're past the point of reasoning. People have they're not reasonable anymore. So there's no point in doing those things, from my view. That's why I don't engage in man on the street stuff or whatever. Or, it just seems futile. And people have, not everybody, but a lot of people have, it's almost like it's down the middle. Doesn't it seem like that? It seems like the country, the church, everything's kind of split down the middle of halfway awake to awake, and then just completely insane. Is there's half of the country is completely insane, and the other half is awake to halfway awake. And the same in the church. Half of the church are think they're Orthodox and have absolutely nothing to do with Orthodoxy. It's weird. Oh, and one other thing I want to mention too, a little side note. Why is it this way? Well, I was thinking about, these Marvel movies kind of being the biggest movies in the last 15 years, and, all the soy guys that worship this stuff. And I'm thinking, but is it any different than America's other big idols? Not really. And so I started thinking, America just has, in the West, has a series of idols. And we're always looking for the problem. What's wrong with our country? We're losing the West. America's going down. It's Joe Biden. It's this. It's that. And it's not really any of those things. The real source, I think, there's evil people who do evil things. But how do we get to where we didn't have any discernment to recognize good and evil, right? So there's even deeper problems, right? So we're trying to find the root of the problems. Okay, not the symptoms, the root of the problem. Joe Biden is like a symptom. Well, for one, people didn't listen to conspiracy theorists for decades and decades and decades that have been warning them about, telling them about Davos and all this stuff. So we got laughed at for the last 20 years. That's part of it. But why would we be we would be laughed at and mocked because, number one, giving people, I remember when in my 20s, I used to buy books, tons of books, and I would hand them out, give them out. And then I started realizing people don't read books. Why am I wasting money giving out hundreds of dollars of books? People don't read books. Now, some people would read those books. But on the whole, I guarantee you, out of the probably thousands of dollars I spent in my 20s and 30s giving out books and materials, most of those people probably didn't read them. So why would that be the case? Well, partly that would be because of bad education, dumbing down, the American education system being geared towards not educating people. So that's all part of it, the toxic culture, all that. But I started thinking, well, what does everybody spend their time on? Okay, video games, Marvel crap, and Disney Star Wars stuff, sports, and the great American civic religion, the great American pastime, politics. Think how much time and effort and energy has been put into and is put into sports, number one idol in America, tied with America's civic religion, aka politics, and then all this other stuff. And it's women aren't immune to this either. Women have their idols of vanity and stupid magazines or whatever that women are into. Instagram, I don't know. But where have the men been, right? I mean, ultimately, when we see these kind of collapse failures, it's like, where were the men to stand up for this stuff, for virtue and what's right? Well, men were concerned with what? Comic books, video games, toys, sports. Is there anything else guys are even told to be concerned with? So now it's good that guys are moving in the direction of getting out of that stuff, right? Getting into the gym. Those are all positives for sure. But one thing that I've harped on in the past that, and again, keep in mind, the problem isn't sports themselves, because all these things can be good. But one of the main reasons that if our country collapses, it will be because of the god of sports and the freaking football demon. Everybody's worshiping the damn football demon. And I've seen this for forever. Now, I remember hearing somebody's lecture many years ago, and they made a really good point, which was that 100 years ago, or 150 years ago, whatever, there were professional sports, but it was still a kid thing. So even the normalization of sports as like this idol, which is now a social engineering tool. I hope everybody recognizes that with the NFL and CUFID and all this propaganda that's in all of the major league sports now for the last 20 years. Why on earth do people worship these stupid sports games? I can't understand it. Now, I was a sports dude. I played basketball like crazy when I was a kid. I read Batman, Spider-Man, Avengers, X-Men when I was a kid. And as Paul says, when I became mature, I put away childish things. Now, he was talking about an analogy. He wasn't literally talking about the stuff I'm talking about. How much more so, literally, is it the case that we have completely been like, if the country collapses, it's because all the men worship the freaking football demon. That's it. And I don't even understand, how do people like football? It's like, the only sport I can even understand is basketball, because I played it, I guess. And I think basketball is fun to play, and it's good for exercise. But even when I was like, I don't know, I turned 17, I quit caring about the NBA. Why is everyone obsessed with synthetic simulated masculinity? It's just weird, man. And I mean, that's never going to change. America will never stop worshiping the football god. Now, if the country collapses and we're all having to survive, you won't be worshiping your football god then. We'll be focused on survival. There won't be no football god to worship. But man, it's in the South, it's so crazy in the South. People paint their houses the color of their freaking football teams. People get their football themed coffins. I'm not joking. There's a company near here that will tailor your coffin to UT Orange, and people buy it. When I worked at the paint store, I used to have to mix this ugly ass horrible orange for UT. And it was just, it's a bizarre color, but I had the formula memorized because so many people would paint their porches and their shutters UT orange. And I mean, the sports are fun, but like, dude, I don't get it. It's baffling to me that people don't mature beyond worshiping the football demon. And now Nashville has built this gigantor soccer stadium. So now you have another stupid idol, an even dumber sport, soccer. Did you know that you can't even use your hands? Who the heck wants to play?
Just kick. Don't touch it. Just kick.
Hey, wouldn't it be a great idea if we just ran for 2 hours? And like, what if we could only like maybe score 1 goal in 2 hours? Oh, it sounds like so much fun, dude. And you just kick it, dude. Man, I hated playing soccer. That was the stupidest damn game. I played 2 years of soccer, by the way, so I know how soccer works. And now we have to have soccer because, and nobody even realizes why Nashville now has a soccer team. Right now, it's part of its business. It's going to bring business to Nashville. The whole thing with soccer, according to your boy Jacques Attali, was part of globalization. It's a way to get, yeah, I know it's a money-making thing. I know all that. But it's a way to get everybody into no longer thinking about even the older model of, I like, I don't even know the Nashville teams. And why do we even have hockey? It's the freaking hot-ass South. There's no ice. You don't ice skate and play hockey in Nashville. But we have this, what do they call, Predators? Hockey? Why do we have a hockey team? And how is the hockey team in Nashville I don't even understand how it's popular. I guess because all of the freaking Yankees that have moved here.
Why ain't you got a hockey team? Why ain't you got a hockey team?
Because it's the South. Because it's hot as freak down here, dude. Nobody down here, we don't ice skate. Ice skating is for Olympic chicks from Russia and Skittles boys. We don't ice skate here. What are you talking about? Ice skating sucks anyway. It's hard as heck. You ever try to ice skate? It's like immediately you stand up and your ankle breaks.
Why ain't you got no hockey teams down here in Nashville? I moved all the way from Milwaukee and you ain't got a hockey team.
Because we're sane. Because we don't like stupid ass sports from people from Canada. Take that to Canada, dude. I don't know what Canada sports down here. Hockey. I ain't no Emilio Estevez. Go take that off with Emilio. Take your Mighty Ducks elsewhere. March your little Mighty Ducks back up to Canada, bro.
Oh, eh? Ain't you got no hockey teams down here, eh? Don't you like to play hockey?
Hell no. Play no hockey. Get out of here. Only sports we play down here are basketball and football. And we don't even want no soccer today. Take your soccer back to freaking Europe, dude. We don't want that. It's a lame ass sport. Boring. I'd rather watch golf than soccer or hockey. Who knows anything about hockey anyway? Wayne Gretzky, a dude with a mullet. That's all anybody knows about hockey. And we have a hockey team in Nashville. Why? And I remember when I got invited to a Predators game, it was my ex-girlfriend's boomer Yankee parents that had moved here.
Hey, you wanna go to the Predators game? I got the tickets.
And by the way, I did not go. No, I don't. Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. Please take your horrible sport back to the north.
By the way, it's just jokes. I'm sure there's people in here I'm sure there's Euro bros that love their football. And I'm sure there's Yankees that love their freaking hockey.
Hockey.
But I don't get it. Hockey. How is it even a sport? I don't get it. The only reason anybody watches hockey is to see them fight in that little box, which half the time, it doesn't even happen half the time. like maybe one fight a game. The only reason, well, guess what? There's a whole sport called MMA that's just the freaking fighting, which is what everybody's watching hockey for anyway. So just go watch MMA. Throw away them stupid ass ice skates. Give them back to the Russian Olympian chicks. Let them do that. Throw away your stupid sticks and just go fight in Joe Rogan's octagon. Hockey in Nashville, and now we got to have football, and Reese Witherspoon bought or owns half the team or something. I don't know, something crazy. Because Reese Witherspoon's from that. So Reese, why are you giving us a dang football team in Nashville? I mean, soccer team. Anyway, but Jacques Attali said that the world would accept soccer for globalization. I'm not joking. There's a whole chapter on that. He said it would be a most amazing tool for globalization.
Oh, yeah, we're going to bring a bunch of Texas. Going to come from up north. You know what we got to do? We got to move down to the south. And then we got to bring a bunch of Texas and hockey. We got to enlighten them southerners. They don't got no hockey. And they don't got Texas. They're crazy. Let's go ruin their shit.
That's basically what happened, okay? So they're trying to make Nashville, by the way, into like super megalopolis. Okay, it is crazy. Nashville doesn't even look like what it looked like 3 years ago. Dude, Nashville is it's going to be, they're making Nashville beyond Austin. It's like, they want to make Nashville into Atlanta, dude. Atlanta was the first southern gigantor megalopolis. And dude, you don't want to go to Atlanta. Okay. Atlanta is not a fun place. And now they're going to take Nashville and convert it into gigantor megalopolis globalization city 101. It's pretty crazy. But I guess everybody wants to worship the sports and the zillionaires, and that's what you're going to get. So enjoy. I mean, remember what we just covered from Augustine? He was talking about the fall of Rome and all of the entertainment and all the glitz and all the glam and all the wealth and all the food and all the degeneracy. And even 20 years ago, when I read that book, and I showed you guys saw the other night when we did that analysis, I had written in the margins of my copy 20 years ago, how much does this sound like America now? And if Rome fell, do you think America won't fall? All these delusional boomers, that'll never happen in America. We'll never fall. We got FIFA soccer. We got hockey. How could America fall? We have hockey. There's going to be a giant demon Wayne Gretzky with a giant demon hockey stick scythe that will slice through the country. Giant demon mullet Wayne Gretzky with a Jason hockey mask. Instead of a giant hockey stick, he's got a scythe like Saturn, like Kronos. Just gonna cut through the whole spirit of the country. Somebody should draw that. Everybody's always drawing cool stuff from the live streams. So our artist bros out there, Ghost Reptile and TP and somebody should draw a giant Kronos Saturn Wayne Gretzky with a Jason hockey mask and a giant mullet cutting through the earth like a Sith, or cutting through Tennessee. It'd be funny if it was him cutting through Tennessee, right? Anyway, we're getting crazy here today. I don't think you need to see the rest of this lecture is really annoying me. We don't have to listen to this. You get the point. It's just more of this. He's just going to say it's all chaos. And since reality is chaos, you, the magician, has to learn to control it and exert and cause your will to be in the world. That's it. And my critique is, you already heard it. Okay, well, wait a minute, but you just said all reality is an illusion. The self is a delusion. Everything is meaningless sensations. And so you create meaning. Okay, but if you create meaning and everything is pure subjectivism, relativism, then there is no meaning. And you can't even say that everything is pure subjectivism, relativism. So we're just doing a basic precept critique. That's it. And I don't think I have to ramble on for you guys to understand that. And if you want to watch the rest of this, you can. Here you go. Here's 30 minutes of him saying the same gibberish. There you go. And that's the philosopher of chaos magic, which underlies chaos theory and the movie. That's it. That's all, the whole thing. There you go. Let's get to these super chats. This has been a lot of fun. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's long enough on this. If you want to support the show, be sure and do so via the super chats. The super chats are through Streamlabs, and you can send me any question within the bounds of reason, within the relevance of today's subject matter, within the bounds of what's acceptable. If you say crazy crap, I'm not going to read it, obviously. So you're just throwing me like a pay piggy your money. Nikolai, no, that was 2 days ago. Beyonce, haha, that was very clever. Not Beyonce, Beyonce. $5. Jay, can you show the best pay piggy vocal runs? The remix is lit. Pay piggy, ooh, ooh, na 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 na, ooh, pay piggy, give me one more super chance. Pay piggy, don't make me go back to 9 to 5. There you go. How's that? That was on the spot, on the fly, off the cuff. G-A-Y Dyer. I have to be careful. G-A-E Dyer says for $1. Here is a super chance. There we go. Deep down, he loves that song. Hegel is a mind virus, $5. Some of the Hegelians, there we go, Hegel, think that Kant saw a contradiction as an epistemic limit. Okay. Hegel saw a contradiction as an ontological reality. Well, but I think Hegel saw this, not that, as contradiction, right? So until we achieve the sort of omega point, everything is in process of contradiction and working out contradictions. That's my understanding of Hegel and his process philosophy, but I could be wrong. I don't claim to be a Hegel expert. I had one class on Hegel, and I spent a decent amount of time in the phenomenology of spirit. So I am not, all you Hegel experts, you can have it. I'm not claiming to be a Hegel expert. So a Hegel expert is going to spring out, he got it wrong, their minds are going to blow up, right? Because they're all mind. If their minds blow up, all of reality blows up, because all of reality is mind. And from their viewpoint, all of reality is their mind. But that's okay. I'm not wedded to, I don't really care what Hegel's views are ultimately. I was wondering how this contrasts with an orthodox view of contradiction or antinomy. So antinomy and contradiction aren't identical. We would say that a contradiction is a violation of the law of non-contradiction, of that logical law. So the dog exists and does not exist. Okay, that's a contradiction. So it's mutually exclusive. And I think, if I recall, again, it's been many years since I had a Hegel class. Hegel thinks that thesis, antithesis, synthesis is a contradictory process that is resolving, right? So you're right, he sees it as a metaphysical thing. I would not say that a contradiction is a metaphysical thing. It's not a thing that has existence any more than, like, if I deny the law of identity, right? It doesn't have existence. I read Hegel was into Hermeticism. Yes, there is a book put out several years ago called Hegel and Hermeticism, I think. And it deals with that very topic, and that is correct. And if you read, I mean, I'm not a Hegelian expert, but I know enough of Hegel to see, okay, well, this is just a bunch of like Neoplatonic mystic type of stuff. So yeah, I think there's definitely a good case that Hegel was into that kind of stuff. But a lot of people at that time were too. So, I mean, Descartes was into Hermeticism. Newton was into alchemy and Hermeticism. I have a book that argues that Galileo was into some of the esoteric Hermetic stuff. I think Kepler was. But remember, at that time, there wasn't a sharp division between the natural sciences and alchemy and Hermeticism. So a lot of those things were still kind of joined. So anybody that studied, say, ancient Greek philosophers would be exposed to alchemy or alchemical ideas. Albert Magnus, Aquinas's mentor, he has a whole book on alchemy. Who's that guy that one Uniate dude was going nuts over years ago? Remember that Uniate guy went nuts and had a meltdown on my channel? It's on the tip of my, not him, but the guy that he was all into was a big Roman Catholic alchemist dude. So not all of that is necessarily malicious, and not everybody's trying to be a sorcerer. It was kind of just bound up with those disciplines at the time. Raymond Lull, that's what I'm trying to think of. Right, Raymond Lull tried to chart out the humors and chart out the houses of the zodiac, and I mean, all that's just how they thought at that time. They thought that everything was connected and linked. Now, everything may be connected and linked, but not in the esoteric ways that a lot of those people in the Middle Ages thought. Ron Diesel, $10, says absolutely nothing. Thank you so much, Ron Diesel. Appreciate that. By the way, guys, if you want to keep this show going, if you enjoy the kind of wild, wacky, free stream of consciousness style that I do, then please do hit like. Please share this, send this out. I like to kind of go everywhere. It's just the style of how we do things. And if you don't like it, that's cool. It's fine with me. You don't have to like it. But if you do like it, then please do support via Super Chats and by sharing the show. And also keep in mind that I'm not against sports, okay? I work out on a daily basis. Now, I do a lot of cardio. We're thinking about doing I need to get into doing other things like swimming on a regular basis. The problem is that the pool here is kind of stank ass. It's kind of a stank ass pool. So it's not the nicest pool. But I would rather swim than some of the stuff that I do, but there's other things about the gym here that are annoying too. But anyway, point is that I do advocate totally for being healthy and active and whatnot in that regard. So don't misunderstand my ranting about be engaged in activities, but sitting back. But I mean, obviously that can be an idol too. But anyway, no, UFC is fun. And it's weird because when I was like 18 or 19, I remember when UFC was new and it was like this weird, only certain video stores had the VHSs, right? And of course, now the YouTube stream messes up. And now UFC is like the biggest thing in the world. It's crazy. But why don't we have UFC in Nashville? Look at this stupid ass hockey and freaking soccer. Bring UFC to Nashville. Give me a hockey and soccer, dude. Come on. Anyway, we were in the super chats. I got lost. No, I was going to tell you is that part of that diet is a big part of how you're going to be healthy. And as you know, one thing that's helped us over here is on my end is moving towards a more keto carnivore based solution to the gut issues I had. Thanks to Tristan, thanks to Jordan Peterson, Michaela Peterson on Joe Rogan. So those shows like saved my guts. So they saved my life. So I'm very thankful for that. But part and parcel with that is that our foods, most of what Americans eat isn't even food, right? It's nasty, synthetic, processed garbage juice smoothies. So if you want to have real food, you have to move in the direction of what I'm talking about, right? But you also need to supplement with natural remedies, supplementation that has the nutrients because we're nutrient deficient. So we're not getting the minerals that we need because our food, our soils are nutrient deficient. And the way that I would recommend to add to your diet and your exercise regimen is chalk.com. That is the show sponsor. They're a great company. We've been having them as a sponsor, and I've been using their products now for 6-8 months. It's been a while, but if you're looking for a testosterone boost that is proven, peer-reviewed study, I recommend the Tonkat Ali. Excellent product for boosting testosterone. It is 100% organic and stringently purified. I mean, they have the strongest, most stringent processes for the purification of their cold pressed supplements. If you're looking for an overall approach, there's the daily. If you're looking for energy boost, there is Action 2.0, which is great. If you're looking for mental clarity, Jamie is a big fan now of the Shilajit. She takes Shilajit every day. It's an ancient, well-known to help you with mental focus and clarity. If you're looking for other options, if you don't like Shilajit, there's also ashwagandha, which is great for mental focus and clarity. There's also Irish moss, which Jamie she sort of alternates the Shilajit and the Irish moss to help kind of balance out her hormone levels and stuff like that. So there's stuff there for guys and for girls at chalk.com. And I would say if you don't want to go through the annoying process of reordering every month, they now have the option of the promo code for ordering recurring subscriptions. So you can get stacks. You can get the different products in a stack, and you can get them on a recurring basis, kind of like Amazon does recurring, so you don't have to keep ordering it in case you forget. And then if you forget, then you don't get it and you're out of it for a week or whatever. I do that all the time if I order something on Amazon and I don't have that product or whatever. But if you want to do that, the promo code is J53Life. J53Life, that's the recurring. Or if you just want the 50% discount, it's J50. J50. Be sure to put in the promo code or you won't get that gigantic 50% discount. And also, as we pointed out last live stream, they are trying to push this stupid legislation to where basically you can't get supplements in this way. So they don't want you to order supplements on the internet. And it's going to be some stupid ass crazy government regulated thing so that they can take over and shut down another market, because that's what they do. And if you want to get a good supply of chalk, 50% off, now is the time to do it before and in case. I'm not joking. That's a real, look up the online or the supplements legislation. Let me see if I can find it, because our boys over at Chalk just sent that. And I'll tell you the name of this so you see that I'm not. I guess these are senators. Yeah, Senators Durbin and Braun introduced legislation to improve safety and transparency of supplements. And this is regarding online. And the legislation actually says, quote, "There's a slippery slope of the FDA deciding about high testosterone in products, and this is a crime when the FDA doesn't think anyone should take more than," what is this from? Oh, this is somebody critiquing this legislation. So this is a critic of the legislation, says this is a slippery slope because the FDA decides that a product that has too much testosterone is bad, and they might make this a crime. If the FDA doesn't think anyone should take more than XYZ amount of vitamin C, for example, then they'll say that you can't be pushing vitamin. It's just so stupid, right? But it is the Durbin-Braun legislation. Now, they're pushing it out of Illinois, but I think they're going to try to push that everywhere. So here you can see, I'm not making that up. Right. And yeah, so get on over to Chalk right now. and use that promo code while you have it and while we have access and while we have them as a sponsor. I mean, we love Chalk. They're an amazing company. They've been a great supporter and sponsor for Jay's analysis for 8 months now. It's probably more than I don't know how time works. Don't ask me about time, but definitely get over there right now. J-Mel, $20. There was once a documentary called The Particle, where the Hadron Collider scientists celebrated that particles vibrate at a low frequency, man, proving that there is only one known universe. Therefore, quantum math is sound, and thus they can keep their jobs. All right, let's read that again. There was a documentary called The Particle, where the Hadron Collider scientists celebrated that particles vibrate at a low frequency, proving that there's only one universe. Therefore, quantum math is sound. Interesting. So if that is the case, then the quantum multiverse stuff is even more of a bunch of baloney. So yeah, good point there. We have to look at that documentary, The Particle, about the Hadron Collider. That sounds fun. Raina, $3. Can we talk about Scarlet Witch putting America on the sacrificial altar? Yes, that's a good point. I forgot to go into. So the girl who's the main character's power is the opening the dimensional portals, and they keep referencing her in a weird way, like in a double sense, because they'll say things like America will die, or they've got America, right? And then it's like America's on the altar and the witch is going to sacrifice it, right? I think that's a great point. But I didn't want to go too schizo-y with reading into double senses of the words, but there's probably something to that, right? I mean, I definitely think there's something to her being who she is and having the name. But that's a great point. Frankie D, $5. I'm sending you $3 that could have bought you 3 months ago. Wait, I'm sending you what $3 could have bought you 3 months ago when inflation was transitory. Oh, so he sends $5, which is the equivalent of $3 3 months ago. Yeah, exactly. Great point. And I should have commented on. I meant to comment on the whole crypto thing, because a lot of people who are relatively new or not super deep into crypto are kind of freaked out now, which I understand because of the whole situation. So just a few points on this. So it's not the fault of Bitcoin that there was the collapse. And to be fair to the Terra Luna thing, and I had a little bit in Terra Luna. Thank God I didn't have a whole lot in it. But this didn't have any of the open earmarks that were easy to see of a Ponzi scheme or a rug pull like previous things like BitConnect did. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. Second thing is that the idea of what he was claiming to say Terra Luna would do sounds good, right? Let's have a stable coin not backed by fiat, but by Bitcoin. So all that sounds good, but it does appear, and I can't prove this, so it's speculation, but it looks like, and typically when these kinds of things happen, it's people doing coordinated attacks. I think that's my opinion, is a coordinated attack. I think it probably was engineered by one of these big financial institutions or hedge funds that wanted to do this attack, not just to attack the market, because remember, anytime there's a market attack or a crash, it's not because they're trying to crash it for the sake of crashing it. Shits and giggles. They're doing it because when it's coordinated and it happens, then they can buy everything up on the cheap. So this wasn't ultimately to destroy Bitcoin. I guarantee you, whoever coordinated the attack, whichever big institution was behind it, or it's like a Wall Street technique of attack that it's been done many times. Then they buy up when it's on the cheap. Now, I'm not talking about buying up Terra Luna. Terra Luna was the means by which the rug pull was executed to attack Bitcoin, to make Bitcoin go down a lot, so that, in my view, it could then buy it up on the cheap. And now let's say, You say, well, why would anybody want to do that? Well, let's say you are an institution that has billions of dollars, and let's say you realize the problems of fiat. Now, if a lot of your assets in your institution are in fiat, and you see the devaluation of fiat, and you really understand, as many of us do, what Bitcoin actually is, then you want Bitcoin. Now, why would you just buy Bitcoin at $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 when coordinated attacks, if executed in the right way, can bring that down to, they might even take Bitcoin down to 20 or 10. Who knows? I mean, it's possible. I don't think Bitcoin's going to die. It's not going away. I think the whole purpose of these things is to buy it when the market is hit and it goes down. Because the system is already, I mean, we're already at the point where people are accepting crypto. They're not destroying crypto. And by the way, all the people who are like gloating, oh, crypto's dead, ha 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 ha, we're vindicated, we won. Those are the same people saying that crypto is the mark of the beast and they put crypto here to get it. I mean, they don't even make sense themselves. I thought crypto was the mark of the beast and it's the plan to control everything. But now, they collapsed crypto. We're proven right. Well, who collapsed crypto? The power structure? I thought you said the power structure was wanting to bring in crypto. So why would they destroy it? No, this is what happens in big Wall Street stuff. They can engineer what's called coordinated attacks, and it's very sophisticated. Like it's crazy level sophistication. It's like, dude, why don't these people put their cunning and their ingenuity into like positive things? I mean, they're probably already billionaires. So, I mean, are they just that bored that like they just have to sit around and cook up some crazy scheme to see if they can execute the crash and then buy it up as a fire sale? So my thesis is that this was a coordinated attack, not to destroy Bitcoin, but to use Terra Luna as a means to crash Bitcoin to where it is or lower, and then buy it all up. Because I guarantee you, the people who are doing this want Bitcoin. I mean, that's my view. Now, there are other possibilities. There's a possibility that some of bad actors don't like Bitcoin. Maybe they do want to destroy it. To me, that seems foolish, given the fact that, I mean, if you know what it is, like, you would want to get it. Like, right? It would be like, do you want to own gold or destroy gold? Right? There's no logic in just destroying gold for gold's sake, right? So it's much more likely that the coordinated attack was to then purchase it on the cheap in vast quantities, probably. And I think the whole thing is sus anyway, with the dude who already had a similar attempt to have an algorithmic stablecoin that failed, and then he tried again. So all this has come out now, right? So whether that dude was in on it from the get-go or whether he was baited by an offer from a big institution is hard to say. I don't know. But do you guys remember, everybody seems to have forgotten that the Do Kwon profile, didn't it tweet on April Fool's Day that it was going to do this? Does everybody remember this? There was like there was a tweet that may have been an April Fool's joke. It was like, haha, it's just an April Fool's joke. And that it was about that Terra Luna would end up being a thing that dumped all the Bitcoin. And when it was dumped, it would cause a crash. Does anybody remember that? I mean, am I nuts and that didn't happen? I'm pretty sure that happened. But I don't it was like, well, it would be April Fool's. But I can't remember if that was specifically on. Actually, let's look at that. Let's see if that was April Fool's. Let's look up April Fool's Do Kwon. See if that was the case. And has everybody forgotten that, by the way? Now that was going around. Do you remember when that was going around? It was like, oh, it's just a joke. But there were people saying, aha. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I found it. Everybody's forgotten this. And Terra founder Do Kwon planning to dump Bitcoin to zero. I saw this breaking news today saying Terra Luna is a Ponzi scheme. I don't know how true it is. Now, I remember this because it was in a bunch of Twitter April 1st that day. And I remember thinking, whoa, dude, because I didn't have a whole bunch, but I had some Terra Luna, and I was like, dang, dude, I hope not. But then I saw that, oh, well, this is just an April Fool's joke. Ha, 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 right? But notice how everybody is laughing at this, and that's exactly what happened. Oh, here we go. Let's find one of the links to it. Let's see if this is it. I might have to cut this out and make it a separate thing. They're calling it Terror instead of Terra. Terror Luna. Do Kwon instead of Do Kwon. Planning to dump. Uh-oh. Now this article came out May 7th. Interesting. So this isn't the April 1st thing. Key takeaways. Do Kwon wants to dump Bitcoin to zero because he realized that Terra Luna is destined to fail. Anonymous sources say. He has reportedly enlisted the help of Bored Ape hackers. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. A completely unrelated article was published on Crypto Briefing April Fool's Day as a joke. Now, wait a minute. Was it a joke? Because this seems to have happened. Okay, now here's somebody's letter. This is getting really confusing. All I'm trying to do is find the original source of where whoever it was claimed this. April 1st, whoever Chris Williams is, dreams of DeFi. Stable Kwon is reportedly planning on dumping Bitcoin to zero, and he's enlisted something to help. Crypto Briefing, blah, blah, blah. Now, why am I talking about this? Because this was said to be just a big joke at the time, remember? And then it exactly happened. So, I don't think when something this big goes on, this isn't just an accident. No, this is like straight up 100% would be coordinated. They were even putting out these joke tweets that it would be a coordinated attack April 1st. And then nobody listened to it because, oh, it's just April Fool's, dummy. I don't know. Isn't that crazy? Do you guys remember this? Does anybody else remember this? I was right, by the way. So anyway, so the reason that this is relevant is because now people are mad about, oh, crypto's dead, it's a joke. Number one, so I first got into this right after the Mt. Gox hack happened. And I remember the slew of articles. Crypto done, the stupid fad, it's over. It's all over, dude. Ha ha ha. Crypto's dead, it's done. And everybody was like, that's all it was. Was crypto done after the Mt. Gox hack? No. Then it was Silk Road. Oh, Silk Road is a Bitcoin terrorist drug scam thing, and it's dead. Now that they've ended, Silk Road's busted, Bitcoin's done, it's dead. On and on and on and on. Then there was BitConnect, another big giant Ponzi scheme that was pretty clearly a Ponzi scheme. This one wasn't so clear, to be fair to people. And when BitConnect collapsed, that was all, by the way, it has similarities to, I don't know if you guys saw the video I shared. I should clip this part out as a separate video. I think I'll do that. But if you come over here, you'll notice in this video, I don't know who this is. I've never heard of this channel. Illuminati. If you watch this video, you'll start to notice parallels and similarities to the whatever was going on with the Terra Luna attack. So I'm trying to give you guys the link here. Here's the link to that if you want to watch that one. Now, it's not exactly the same, but you'll notice there's parallels with the APY staking and how that was part of that's the Ponzi element of it. And then Charles Hoskinson put up a tweet, or supposedly it's supposed to be him. I assume it's him. I don't know. But he basically reiterated this coordinated attack view, if that's his tweet. So remember, the whole point of this is just to say that this is about the fifth or sixth of this kind of a thing. Now, the Terra Luna collapse is the biggest. It's like equivalent to Enron, right? Enron stock was like $90 and went to 20 cents. Terra Luna was 1 month ago over $100 and it dropped to 1 penny. So, and if you remember, guys, Terra Luna it made it into the top 10 like a few weeks ago, right? It was, did it get up to 40 billion at 40 or 50, 48 billion? So Terra Luna had a market cap of like 48 billion and collapsed to today. I think it hit once. I don't know what it is now, but it's dead. I mean, it's hit a penny. It's done. And people are talking about rescuing it. Dude, you ain't going to rescue that. Would you think anybody's ever going to put their trust in something that went from $100 to a penny? I mean, I suppose it's possible because Bitcoin has collapsed before, but I don't know about anything that's gone from $100 to a penny. I don't know if you can come back from that, but it's like Enron, right? And it's the biggest crypto collapse ever in the past 2 days. But what I'm saying is that you have to keep in mind that in a relatively new market like this, these things happen. And this kind of thing happens at least about once every 2 years, right? So I've lived through 2018 crash and then the other crash in 2020? I think 2019, 2020, right? Bitcoin went down to like 5, 6, 7. So we had in the 2017-18 crash, we went from 20 to 3. And then in the 2020 crash, I want to say we got down to like maybe even 4, 5, 6. I can't remember. But that was a relatively similar collapse or crash. We have had a couple pretty bad crashes, in the last year? From May of now to May a year ago. So, I mean, it's not like, does anybody really think that crypto's going away? I mean, even the people who hate crypto are always arguing that it's the plan of the elite. So why would it be going away? It doesn't make any sense. That's stupid, right? And if you understand what Bitcoin is, it's not going away. And I guarantee you that whoever coordinated this is buying it up. So if you zoom out, when in doubt, zoom out, and remember that the chart overall is the best performing asset, even still. And think about it in 2018. Imagine selling when Bitcoin dropped to 3K. And you know a lot of people did, right? I got scared. I learned the hard way not to sell when it dumps. But you have to go through the process, like initiation. You have to go through the pain before you realize, oh, wait a minute. Now is when you make money. Now is when you buy. Okay? Idiots FOMO in when it's at the peak. No, don't buy when it's at the peak. Buy when it's at the crash. Okay? But you got to know what to buy. Don't buy Terra Luna. So, and I'm not telling you what to buy, but I did buy some Bitcoin yesterday or this morning. I can't remember. Yesterday, I think. So everybody's freaking out. I'm like, are you serious? Why are you freaking out? This is like, you're not going to have many chances to get Bitcoin in the 20,000s. And I mean, it's kind of surprising that we did get another chance to, right? And again, yeah, it may go down to 20. But I don't think long term this is this is an amazing invention. I don't think long term that this is going to do that. And by the way, think about stocks too. I was looking at the Amazon chart because people were asking me, freaking out. Oh, crypto's going to go to zero. It's not going to go to zero. If you notice the Amazon chart, go back 20 years, there's like 3 or 4 crashes in Amazon's chart. Let's look at that. So we can look at, we had a peak here of about $600 and almost $700, and then it drops to $500. So that's a pretty significant collapse. Here's a peak. Amazon peaked at 2,000, dropped almost 50% to like 12 or something. I can't tell the low. Maybe it's 13. So maybe not 50%, but quite a bit, right? Here's a peak, another drop, a new peak here, 2021. Amazon peaks at, I can't get this cursor to work right, somewhere in there. 3,000 collapses to 2,800. No, excuse me. Damn it, I can't tell. We'll say 3,300, and then it collapses back down to 2,800. Okay, that's a pretty significant collapse. And then it just did another collapse from 3,300 to 2,100. So Amazon lost $1,000, a third. That's huge. But now, wait a minute. Zoom out. Look at if you have been buying, imagine buying at this crash, right? What was this crash? 1,300. You're still up $1,000 right now from the 2018 crash. By the way, I don't own it as Amazon. I'm just using this as an example for the people that are freaking out. So if you had bought at the crash here, you would still be up, what, 2 years later? $1,000. So that's, you still double your money, right? And notice these cycles, right? That the market goes in cycles. So there's a peak, and then there's a collapse, and there's a peak, and there's a collapse, and then we get a new high, and then we get a collapse. There's no market that doesn't have some kinds of cycles like this. So let's look at Bitcoin. Does any of this look abnormal? By the way, it's better than performing than Amazon in a quicker time. So it took Amazon 20 years to get to $2,000-$3,000, right? Bitcoin had a peak here. This was the famous 2017 peak at 20, and then it crashed eventually all the way down to 3. And all the people, I remember I was into this at that time. All the people back then, oh, it's dead. Sell your Bitcoin. It's dead. It's done. It's never coming back. And then we had this. Uh-oh, it's back. From 3,000 back up to, I'm trying to find the low. There you go. See, told you. Down in the threes. 3,000, 3,000. And I remember this for the longest time, it was 3,000. I was like, man, I guess, I remember thinking, I guess Bitcoin's done. It's done. I mean, I still own some, but I was like, I guess it's dead. I guess it's done. Oh, what do you know? Then we shoot up to 12-ish. 12-ish. And then, guess what? Another collapse. We had a collapse. That's the March. That's the 2020 collapse I was telling you about. So we collapsed to 5. So we went from 11, 12, and we lost 50% of value again. And now this was an even bigger great loss. We peaked at 20 and went down to 3. So that's a 60%, 70% loss. Something like that. And then we have our next collapse. But remember, the next collapse is still not a new low, right? The lowest over here was 3,000. The new low is 5,000. And there's little collapses in here too, by the way, little mini collapses. Now, the volatility and collapses like here, they precede the big next pump. These mini collapses, what do they precede? The next big pump. Now, that's not guaranteed, but there's nothing abnormal about this chart when you zoom out. This is an insanely awesome performing asset. Do you see that? Up 10,000%. That's crazy. So expect it eventually to get up here. I mean, it may take a few years. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's what I think we're looking at here, right? And these collapses happen along the way. And you'll notice Ethereum basically follows Bitcoin's chart as well. Loosely speaking, you can overlay them. And loosely speaking, Ethereum kind of charts right now where Bitcoin was back here. Not exactly, but it's similar to in here. So Ethereum is kind of at right here, 2017 phase, middle 2017. Bitcoin 2017 is basically kind of where Ethereum is now. Now there's no guarantees. You can't guarantee that Ethereum will definitely be at $30,000 in 3 or 4 years, but it's very possible. So when in doubt, zoom out. Keep that in mind. Keep in mind that, the crashes, which happen every year or two, like this, are unfortunately part of how these markets work. That's my view. So you can take it or leave it. Cyril Oppenheimer, $20. No, we already did that. No, wait. Is that the documentary? No. A physicist, as a physicist. Okay, so Cyril is saying he's a physicist. So interesting. Let's hear what a physicist says. He says, and thank you for your $20. Even if I hate your comment, I thank you for your $20. As a physicist, quantum mechanics bothers me. Okay, that's good. That's good. Turns out it is heavily tainted by logical positivism. Yes. I felt like that was probably what was going on. Have you ever thought about the collapse of the wave function? Yes. In fact, it seems to be bound up with this idea that we determine reality, like my mind, my subconscious, which is like Carl Jung. Now, but remember, one of the first podcasts I ever did was analyzing Carl Jung's exchange with Wolfgang Pauli. So there is a connection between quantum physics, Wolfgang Pauli, and Carl Jung. And Carl Jung did believe that, now he wasn't a logical positivist, but he believed that we determine our reality. Mind somehow cause reality. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, I think the mind has an influence on reality. We're actors in the world. I think the divine mind is the source of reality, but our minds don't create reality. That's bizarre. Thank you for getting me into philosophy. Well, thank you, Cyril Oppenheimer. Now, guys, remember too, so I just got email messages from the editing team. My new book will be out. Now, what this is I found a bunch of old essays and lectures and stuff that I saved from the original website. Remember when it got deleted in 2018? One problem that occurred when I saved all these essays and lectures, or essays and articles, is that some of the academic ones had footnotes that were hyperlinked. And when I restored the website, a lot of those are gone. And I don't remember every footnote and source. It's about half. So I'm going to warn you. It's almost like it's like part of the arcana now, the lore of these preserved essays and philosophical musings, is that some of these will have missing mysterious footnotes. So just pretend it's part of a mystery. And I'm saying this because I know some spurg is going to annoyingly harass me and say, he has dozens of footnotes with nothing there. Now, if I was a lying person, I would at least put in like a fake footnote, right? But the reason that there's going to be a bunch of empty footnotes is unfortunately because I rescued these from a deleted website, and I had the giant file that you have all the code for the website when I rebuilt Jay's Analysis on my own when WordPress deleted me. Everybody remembers this, right? So some of these essays, which were good, which I preserved and saved, did not save the footnotes. Now, some of them have all the footnotes, right? But some of them don't. So I'm just letting you know, because I know some spurg is going to freak out about that and try to expose me on Twitter like that one dude did about an error in a footnote. So I'm already admitting to you that there's missing footnotes. I know that. And no, I am not going to spend a year trying to remember every footnote. Just trust me that I footnote. Just trust that. But it'll be okay, because it's a fun book, and I was rereading the final copy from the editors yesterday and thinking, man, I should have done this earlier. And what this book will be is an introduction to philosophy, basically. It's kind of what it'll be. It'll be more like an introduction to philosophy and apologetics. So people were saying, is this the book that you mentioned about tag? No, I mean, there will be argumentations in philosophy relevant to tag in this. There will be arguments and there will be articles about metaphysics, about logic, about logi, about critiquing Darwin, critiquing all kinds of things. And even some weird esoteric stuff. No movie reviews in this. It's all just straight metaphysics and philosophy and essays. A little bit on lit in this, but it needed to be published. And I realized that when whoever Goober took everything from my blog and published it without my permission. Remember that? And I had to fill out forms and contact Lulu that somebody was stealing my material, and then they took it down, thank God. But I realized that people were selling my essays without my knowledge. So I need to do it, because if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. So I feel sure that now some of you might have read all of these over the years, because we have some people who've been with us for 15 years. But I guarantee you a lot of you haven't read all these. So there will be, hopefully, I think, interesting arcana and lore that you guys are not aware of. And also, even if you are aware of it, going back and reading some of these older essays that I wrote hundreds of essays over the years. And I hate to see them lost because of stupid ass WordPress deleting the whole thing. Going back and reading some of these, they make a lot more sense now, even, right? Like, younger me was remembering and seeing things that older me has kind of forgot. And now, with better understanding of Orthodox theology and Maximus, these older essays and articles they kind of come into a new life, so to speak. So hopefully you guys will like that. Now, I'm going to have another Esoteric Hollywood book. So this is like a side project book of, I wanted to get these, what I thought were really good, worth reading essays and articles into a book form. And a lot of people had requested that too. Hey, you need to take these old articles and essays and put them into print. So that's what we did. And it's almost ready. And the final copy looks great. I'm really happy. It looks awesome, actually. Again, the only problem is that a lot of the footnotes were lost when we tried to rescue it from the WordPress deletion. Not all of them, but you'll see what I mean. BMX 1996. Good day. Jay, can you do more Lord Voldemort impressions?
It is Sunday, 2005. We're going to be live for the next 16 hours. I have a stack of unbelievable information, folks. Unbelievable.
How's that? Frankie D, $3. I didn't hear you cover in the City of God. I didn't hear you cover this in the City of God stream, but I found it interesting while reading some of it that the Romans did not permit actors to hold public office like Greeks did. Okay, yeah, I must have overlooked that. That's a good point. To Rome, an actor was a lowly position. Yeah, it's interesting how different societies have had different views of actors. And it's odd, too, because for Plato, I don't think he would have given an actor a very high position. Because in Ion, he says that musicians and poets are basically possessed and crazy. He's like, so you can't have these people running society or having a high position. Jerry Mills, $10. How about Gary from Milwaukee gets confused by tag or pay? Tag or pay? I don't get the comment tag or pay, but I think Gary would definitely get confused by tag.
I mean, Gary from Milwaukee. I don't understand why these people are doing the tag. Milwaukee. I mean, for me, I just like football and beer. Why are you trying to confuse me with the logics and the philosophies of the Platon? Who the F is Platon anyway?
How's that?
Tag. Tag is what you play on the playground. Why are you trying to tag me? Get the fuck away.
How's that? That's what Gary would say about tag. One more super chance. $15. Please do AJ.
Folks, this country is going to die because of the football demon. Okay, folks? Unbelievable. The level to which you will sink. Worshipping your football gods, folks. Unbelievable.
How's that? Dang, dude, that wrecked my voice right there. Now you know why he has a gravelly voice. Dang. Gamma Boy, $1. Satanic imagery and symbolism was off the charts in the new Doctor Strange movie, especially when gathered the candles together. Yeah, that's when he does the sorcery. He does the banishing circle, magic circle, lesser banishing ritual or whatever. To possess. He sends his body. It has astral projection, of course, in the first one, which I covered that in a different stream. But yeah, that was all 100% like Crowley sorcery type stuff. Then he did spirit walking, astral projection. Yeah, that was a big part of the first one. He almost becomes demonically possessed. Exactly. That's when he falls into the black goo. A little too on the nose. Great analysis. Yeah, again, but I mean, the comic book world, as I was illustrating earlier, has always been wrapped up and obsessed with this ritual magic stuff. Hurting Wish, $10. Why are Christian stories and movies so boring, but secular movies entertaining? Well, modern Christian stories are done by goofer evangelicals. I like that. Goofer evangelicals. And so it's all cheeseball. But if you were to go back to Dostoevsky, if you were to go back to C.S. Lewis, those are not boring, cheesy stories. But Christian stories and movies are not even allowed. I mean, you can't promote virtue and those kinds of positive messages in film. That's why. I mean, it's like we were saying about C.S. Lewis Space Trilogy. Should be an awesome series. This would be like Lord of the Rings. This would be like an amazing sci-fi epic, right? But why can't you have that? Well, because it's a Christian anti-demonic dystopia movie. And you think they ain't gonna make that? That's against the ethos of Hollywood. They're not gonna make that. Pay Piglet. Ooh, $30. Ooh, pay Piglet. Give me one more $30. How's that? Jay, I wanted to thank you for the City of God stream. Amazing stuff. Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate it. By the way, there won't be a long time on that one because I've got it ready to go, fresh in my mind. So that will probably be tomorrow night. And the C.S. Lewis part 2 is ready to go too. I'm done with Hideous Strength more or less. So I would say in the next 2 days, those part 2s will be out. So thank you guys for your patience. I have a question. Is Orthodoxy purely reformist? I'm not sure what you mean by reformist. Excuse me. Do you just mean like we reform our morals, or can the church reform? The church doesn't reform doctrinally. We do not believe in reforming the church theologically or doctrinally. That's the Protestant idea. We believe that individuals need to reform in the sense of repenting and changing. But I'm not sure in what sense you mean this. So you go on to say, does it oppose all kinds of revolutions like the one Ted Kaczynski argued for? Reformist. I've not read his manifesto, so I don't actually know. I mean, I know he was like he had a libertarian ideology, but he was against the big tech stuff. I mean, I think Orthodox theology advocates for normal, organic human living, so they would be against transhumanism. But I don't think Orthodoxy is libertarian in the sense of like Enlightenment, classical liberalism. I'm sorry. I wish I could give you a better answer, but I just don't think it is. It's not really identifiable with any political system. Now, Orthodoxy has a traditional ceremony for the coronation of rulers, aka monarchs, and so it's given its blessing to monarchy. But we don't equate Orthodoxy with monarchy. They're two different things. They're not identical, you say, any more than Orthodoxy is boomer-dox Americanism. It's not. In fact, there's absolutely nothing about Orthodox theology that's boomer-dox Americanism, and yet 50% of the American Orthodox believe that Americanism is the same thing. I mean, people are crazy. So anyway, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say to that question. I don't know enough about what Ted K argued for, other than that he was, like a head to the cabins Thoreau kind of person or something. But thank you, Pay Piggy. Podromos, $3. I sent someone the Ukraine discussion, and they disagree. Well, shocker. I'm sure they will. I don't know which one you mean. The one on Rockfin? This person has been there many times for humanitarian effort and prefers the schismatic church. Well, this friend sounds like somebody who might have other masters. So I'm not surprised that this person thinks that way. I'm told that the CIA debriefs the people coming back from there. Yeah, exactly. So again, none of this stuff I talk about is quote conspiracy theory. It's all out there in the open. But thank you for that. Frankie D, $5. Jay, I'm a foolish person, but is there a way for me to take on a holy fool archetype. Do I have to be completely foolish, like John the Baptist? I don't think that we have to take on an archetype. I would say just try to live the Orthodox life as best you can. And if God leads you in some way like that, then you leave that up to his providence. I think one of the things the fools for Christ do is trust in divine providence. So they're not worried about taking on an archetype. You don't have to do that. Just try to live the Orthodox life. That's it. Did you see that white in are colonizing Orthodoxy? I saw it on the very legitimate NPR. Yeah, I don't. Does anybody read or follow NPR? I don't. So, I mean, I looked at their Twitter. So NPR has like supposedly 10 million Twitter, 8 or 9 million Twitter followers. And I get more likes and retweets on a lot of my tweets than NPR. So pretty sure that they probably don't actually have 9 million Twitter followers, a lot of bots. So, I mean, people get really up in the air and worried about mainstream media hit pieces. Nobody even reads these websites anymore. Who reads NPR? I don't think I've ever read NPR. The last time I read NPR was like 5 years ago when they had an article about MK Ultra. I mean, who actually reads NPR? Like 100 boomers, maybe. Like horrible college professors. There's like 5,000 people max that read NPR. I don't know. But I wouldn't worry to just ignore these stupid hit pieces. Podromos, $5. I think it is interesting that the Scarlet Witch is Slavic. Yeah, I just actually noticed that today, that like Black Widow, her character was like a Russian, right? I don't remember the name. And then she seeks to destroy America. Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And that touches on Raina, her super chat earlier, where she said the witch is going to sacrifice America. Yeah, good point. Axis 3A went $10. Can you explain the difference between Aristotle and Plato with regards to orthodoxy? I don't think orthodoxy is identifiable with either Aristotelianism or Platonism. Different church fathers at different times and for different purposes utilize and are influenced by both Aristotle and Plato. So, for example, the Cappadocians in their Christology, in their Trinitarian theology, very much appropriate some elements and ideas from Plato. St. John of Damascus is definitely more influenced by Aristotle in his philosophical and theological treatises. St. Maximus is influenced by Porphyry, Aristotle, and Plotinus. So there's no one philosopher that we would pick out and say, oh, orthodoxy is Aristotelian. Oh, orthodoxy is Platonic. Really, anybody that says that is just kind of speaking with a sophomoric level of understanding. A lot of Roman Catholics, a lot of Protestants, a lot of Calvinists say orthodoxy is Neoplatonic, when the entire argumentation of the essence energy distinction is to refute Neoplatonism, which is just speaking out of ignorance. So there's not really the answer is that orthodoxy is neither Aristotelian nor Platonic, and that orthodoxy utilizes Aristotelian and Platonic ideas. That's the answer. Clint, $10. Great stream. I enjoyed it. Well, thank you so much, Clint. If you would hit like and share, everybody. I hope you had a good time. Hopefully this was fun and enjoyable. We don't really need to go through 20 minutes of this goofy guy explaining his legit insane level worldview. And you don't need to read his book. It's you get the idea what this is. By the way, guys, remember you can also get over on Rockfin and support me there by subscribing and getting on a free speech-based platform like Rockfin, where it's a little spicier, a little edgier over there. We can talk about stuff, comments, topics that aren't really allowed over here. And, we don't know. We never know how long we'll be here. Any day it could be axed. So that's why you want to get over on Rockfin before you forget I exist, right? If you're on Rockfin, you won't forget. You'll be like, oh yeah, he's on there. He exists. He didn't pop over into the multiverse where Bill Cosby is God, right? And there's a universe where Bill Cosby is the deity in the multiverse, right? There's a universe where Lil Wayne is the deity. There's a universe where it's a double-headed Lil Wayne and Bill Cosby. And also the head of Trump. Do you want to go to that universe? What do you think? Or do you want to go to the universe where it's all butts? It's just nothing but butts. That's a whole universe of butts. I mean, if the multiverse is true, then that's what you have to accept.